Session is called to order. Everybody is requested for the singing of the national anthem. Any objection? The chair hearing none. The Secretary General is hereby directed to read the titles of the bill on first reading, including resolutions and messages for referral to the appropriate committee.
Reference of Business Bill Allowance for Public School Teachers, Representative Alejano.
To the Committee on Basic Education and Culture.
House Bill 1505, establishing a free basic medicine assistance program, Representative Alejano.
To the Committee on Health.
House Bill 1506, amending the educational requirement for police applicants, Representative Alejano.
To the Committee on Public Order and Safety.
House Bill 1507, providing for the protection of the rights of airline passengers, Representative Alejano.
To the Committee on Transportation.
House Bill 1508, modifying the role of the Civil Service Commission in the appointment of uniformed personnel in the PNP, Representative Alejano.
To the Committee on Public Order and Safety.
House Bill 1509, providing for the conservation, reforestation, and rehabilitation of mangrove forests, Representative Alejano.
To the Committee on Special Committee on Reforestation.
House Bill 1510, strengthening the architecture profession, Representative Alejano.
To the Committee on Civil Service and Professional Regulation.
House Bill 1511, providing for the mandatory PhilHealth coverage for all barangay officials, Representative Alejano.
To the Committee on Local Government.
House Bill 1512, strengthening the Commission on Human Rights, Representative Alejano.
To the Committee on Human Rights.
House Bill 1513, creating the positions for judges at large, Representative Loyola.
To the Committee on Justice.
House Bill 1514, upgrading the salaries of employees of the COMELEC, Representative Tino and Castro, Fednil.
To the Committee on Appropriations.
House Bill 1515, upgrading the WAU District Hospital, Representative Adjong.
To the Committee on Health.
House Bill 1516, creating Barangay Upper Pugaan, Representative Adjong.
To the Committee on Local Government.
House Bill 1517, upgrading the Amay Pakpak Medical Center, Representative Adjong.
To the Committee on Health.
House Bill 1518, creating the Department of Housing and Urban Development, Representative Macapagal Arroyo.
To the Committee on Government Reorganization and the Committee on Housing and Urban Development.
House Bill 1519, promoting agritourism, Representative Macapagal Arroyo.
To the Committee on Agriculture and Food.
House Bill 1520, granting additional benefits to solo parents, Representative Macapagal Arroyo.
To the Committee on Population and Family Relations.
House Bill 1521, modernizing the crime investigation techniques, Representative Macapagal Arroyo.
To the Committee on Public Order and Safety.
House Bill 1522, providing additional personal exemption for individual taxpayers, Representative Macapagal Arroyo.
To the Committee on Ways and Means.
House Bill 1523, requiring air carriers to provide training for flight attendants, Representative Macapagal Arroyo.
To the Committee on Transportation.
House Bill 1524, prohibiting the demonstration, performance, or exhibition in public of certain sexual acts, Representative Macapagal Arroyo.
To the Committee on Public Information.
House Bill 1525, conserving and protecting Philippine public forests, Representative Macapagal Arroyo.
To the Committee on Natural Resources and the Special Committee on Reforestation.
House Bill 1526, amending Article 2206 of Article of Republic Act 386, Representative Macapagal Arroyo.
To the Committee on Revision of Laws.
House Bill 1527, establishing an interagency energy conservation committee, Representative Macapagal Arroyo.
To the Committee on Energy.
House Bill 1528, providing for a comprehensive hazardous and radioactive waste management, Representative Gonzales.
To the Committee on Ecology.
House Bill 1529, instituting reforms in real property valuation, Representative Gonzales Aurelio.
To the Committee on Government Reorganization.
House Bill 1530, requiring government agencies to indicate the blood types of individuals, Representative Gonzales Aurelio.
To the Committee on Health.
House Bill 1531, recognizing and strengthening the tax exemptions, Representative Gonzales.
To the Committee on Ways and Means.
House Bill 1532, granting good conduct time allowance, Representative Gonzales.
To the Committee on Justice.
House Bill 1533, providing for the direct remittance to host local government of its 40% share of the proceeds derived from the utilization and development of national wealth, Representative Gonzales.
To the Committee on Local Government.
House Bill 1534, establishing the Philippine Legislative Academy, Representative Gonzales.
To the Committee on Higher and Technical Education.
House Bill 1535, regulating the practice of Instrumentation and Control Engineering, Sir Gonzales.
to the Committee on Civil Service and Professional Regulation,
House Bill 1536, restructuring the income brackets of the Herrera D.
to the Committee on Ways and Means,
House Bill 1537, reducing the corporate income tax rate of Herrera D.
to the Committee on Ways and Means,
House Bill numbers 1538 to 1546, 1640, 1730, 1732, 1733, 1769 to 1774 and 1815, establishing, separating, converting various school annexes and extensions of Abueg, Tambuting, several others.
to the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill 1547, creating the Office of National Food Security, Sir Castelo.
to the Committee on Government Reorganization and the Special Committee on Food Security,
House Bill 1548, institutionalizing the conditional cash transfer program, Representative Castelo.
to the Committee on Poverty Alleviation,
House Bill 1549, creating the Office of Food Safety Administration, Representative Castelo.
to the Committee on Government Reorganization and Committee on Health,
House Bill 1550, dividing Barangay Commonwealth into two distinct independent barangays, Representative Castelo.
to the Committee on Local Government,
House Bill 1551, granting duly appointed RTC judges an incentive to be called a hazard pay equivalent, Representative Castelo.
to the Committee on Justice,
House Bill 1552, increasing pensions under the SSS, Representative Abayon.
to the Committee on Government Enterprises and Privatization,
House Bill 1553, granting discounts to underprivileged vocational technical education students, Representative Abayon.
to the Committee on Higher and Technical Education,
House Bill 1554, creating the Baguio City, La Trinidad, Itogon, Sablan, Tuba, and Tublay Development Authorities, GO.
to the Committee on Government Enterprises and Privatization,
House Bill 1555, revising the charter of the City of Baguio, Representative GO. Mark.
to the Committee on Local Government,
House Bill 1556, prohibiting discrimination on the basis of ethnicity, race, religion, or belief, Sir Villaperte.
to the Committee on Human Rights,
House Bill 1557, supporting the production of Philippine independent films, Sir Villaperte.
to the Committee on Public Information,
House Bill 1558, instituting a free Nutri Meals program, Sir Villaperte.
to the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill numbers 1559, 1560, 1611, 1785 to 1788, 1796, 1844, and 1847, converting certain roads in Davao City, several provinces of Garcia Albano, Cagas, Abueg, and Castelo.
to the Committee on Public Works and Highways,
House Bill 1561, declaring the Waling-Waling as national flowers of Garcia Albano.
to the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill 1562, providing for the establishment of the Technical Education Skills Development Centers at Garcia Albano.
to the Committee on Higher and Technical Education,
House Bill 1563, preventing the circumvention of the employee's right to security of tenure, Joseph Bertiz.
to the Committee on Labor and Employment,
House Bill 1564, regulating the practice of acupuncture, Joseph Vargas.
to the Committee on Civil Service and Professional Regulation,
House Bill 1565, establishing the Novaliches Senior Citizens Hospital, Joseph Vargas.
to the Committee on Population and Family Relations,
House Bill 1566, amending Republic Act 6975, Representative Vargas.
to the Committee on Local Government,
House Bill 1567, requiring food establishments to comply with sanitation standards, Representative Vargas.
to the Committee on Health,
House Bill 1568, mandating the use of safe cleaning products in schools to protect the health of students, Representative Vargas.
to the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill 1569, providing for a cost of living allowance, Representative Vargas.
to the Committee on Appropriations,
House Bill 1570, supporting the production of Philippine independent films, Representative Vargas.
to the Committee on Public Informations,
House Bill 1571, promoting local arts and entertainment industry, Representative Vargas.
to the Committee on Public Information,
House Bill 1572, requiring a report regarding the effects of environmental factors, Vargas.
to the Committee on Health,
House Bill 1573 to 1575, providing for the construction of super health centers, Representative Vargas.
to the Committee on Health,
House Bill 1576, upgrading the Novaliches District Hospital, Representative Vargas.
to the Committee on Health,
House Bill 1577, establishing tricycle driver training, Representative Vargas.
to the Committee on Transportation,
House Bill 1578, requiring the PhilHealth Insurance Corporation to provide coverage for the diagnostic service,
to the
Sir
Committee on
Vargas.
Health,
House Bill 1579, instituting the Youth Legislators Program, Representative Vargas.
to the Committee on Youth and Sports Development,
House Bill 1580, declaring every 10th of February every year as National Safer Internet Day, Sir Vargas.
to the Committee on Information and Communication Technology,
House Bill 1581, banning the hostage or detaining of cadavers, Representative Vargas.
to the Committee on Health,
House Bill 1582 requiring all government employees to provide notice on any charges of conviction, Representative Vargas.
to the Committee on Civil Service and Professional Regulation,
House Bill 1583 providing a full tuition subsidy, Representative Vargas.
to the Committee on Higher and Technical Education,
House Bill 1584 granting additional privileges to marginalized PWD, Representative Vargas.
to the Committee on Social Services,
House Bill 1585 mandating LGUs to allocate 1% of their IRA, Representative Vargas.
to the Committee on Local Government,
House Bill 1586 providing for lifetime validity of PWD identification cards, Representative Vargas.
to the Committee on Social Services,
House Bill 1587 providing free legal assistance, Representative Pentebella.
to the Committee on National Defense and Security, and the Committee on Public Order and Safety,
House Bill 1588 converting the San Isidro Nato Road, Representative Pentebella.
to the Committee on Public Works and Highways,
House Bill 1589 restoring the tax exemption privilege granted to the PAGCOR, Representative Pentebella.
to the Committee on Ways and Means,
House Bill 1590 granting college scholarship to legitimate dependent children, Representative Pentebella.
to the Committee on Higher and Technical Education,
House Bill 1591 prescribing beige or similar hue as the uniform paint color of all government buildings, Representative Castelo.
to the Committee on Civil Service and Professional Regulation,
House Bill 1592 ensuring that pension funds of SSS and the GSIS are subject of a culture of transparency, Representative Castelo.
to the Committee on Government Enterprises and Privatization,
House Bill 1593 mandating the Philippine Ports Authority to ship container traffic, Representative Castelo.
to the Committee on Transportation,
House Bill 1594 providing mandatory universal health care to every Filipino citizen, Representative Castelo.
to the Committee on Health,
House Bill 1595 granting free PhilHealth coverage to barangay health workers, Representative Castelo.
to the Committee on Health,
House Bill 1596 adjusting cost of subsistence allowance, Representative Castelo.
to the Committee on Justice,
House Bill 1597 mandating the LTO to renew or replace license plates, Representative Castelo.
to the Committee on Transportation,
House Bill 1598 providing for the accreditation of NGOs, Representative Bagilat.
to the Committee on Appropriations,
House Bill 1599 instituting a national land use and management policy, Representative Bagilat.
to the Special Committee on Land Use,
House Bill 1600 creating barangay MAPIT, Representative Bagilat.
to the Committee on Local Government,
House Bill 1601 adjusting the level of net taxable income, Representative Bagilat.
to the Committee on Ways and Means,
House Bill 1602 declaring September 2 of every year a special land working holiday, Representative Bagilat.
to the Committee on Revision of Laws,
House Bill 1602 declaring the 18th of every year a special land working holiday, Representative Bagilat.
to the Committee on Revision on Laws,
House Bill 1604 adjusting the level of net taxable income, Representative Bagilat.
to the Committee on Ways and Means,
House Bill 1605 institutionalizing a pre-hospital emergency care system, Representative Bagilat.
to the Committee on Health,
House Bill number 1606 and 1610 establishing and creating national high schools in the Davao del Sur, Representative Cagas.
to the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill 1607 exempting the possession of single ammunition from the coverage of unlawful acquisitions, Representative Cagas.
to the Committee on Public Order and Safety,
House Bill 1608 lowering the compulsory retirement age, Representative Cagas.
to the Committee on Government Enterprises and Privatization,
House Bill 1609 amending certain provisions of Republic Act 9344, Representative Cagas.
to the Committee on Justice,
House Bill 1612 creating a Department of Ocean, Fisheries and Aquatic Resources, Representative Villarin.
to the Committee on Government Reorganization and the Committee on Aquaculture and Fisheries Resources,
House Bill 1613 establishing an on-site in-city or near-city settlement program, Representative Villarin.
to the Committee on Housing and Urban Development,
House Bill 1614 mandating the DepEd to include in the curricula a subject on road safety, Representative Cagas.
to the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill 1615 institutionalizing industry cluster-based programs, Representative Salon and Lee.
to the Committee on People's Participation,
House Bill 1616 exempting the system loss charge component, Sarate.
to the Committee on Ways and Means,
House Bill 1617 defining certain rights of human rights defenders, Sarate.
to the Committee on Human Rights,
House Bill 1618 declaring as close to mining applications those areas declared by LGUs as no mining zones, Sarate.
to the Committee on Natural Resources,
House Bill 1619 setting the starting monthly salary of nurses to 25,000, Representative Sarate.
to the Committee on Labor and Employment and the Committee on Civil Service and Professional Regulation,
House Bill 1620 providing all barangay officials Daycare Workers Lump Sum Retirement Pay, Reserve Alvarez Mercedes.
To the Committee on Local Government,
House Bill 1621, establishing an LTO district office, Representative Alvarez Mercedes.
to the Committee on Transportation,
House Bill 1622, strengthening the practice of electrical engineering, Representative De Vera.
to the Committee on Civil Service and Professional Regulation,
House Bill 1623, creating the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, Representative Castelo.
to the Committee on Government and Reorganization and the Committee on Labor and Employment,
House Bill 1624, directing DepEd to institutionalize the Students' Grievance Act mechanism, Representative Castelo.
to the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill 1625, authorizing the NFA to exercise aggressive regulatory powers, Representative Castelo.
to the Committee on Trade and Industry,
House Bill 1626, banning manufacture and wholesale in stores of unsafe firecrackers, Representative Castelo.
to the Committee on Public Order and Safety,
House Bill 1627, amending Republic Act 7160, Representative Castelo.
to the Committee on Local Government,
House Bill 1628, providing for the postponement and resetting of Barangay Sangguniang Kabataan elections at Garcia Gwendolyn.
to the Committee on Suffrage and Electoral Reforms,
House Bill 1629, legalizing church annulment, Representative Garcia Gwendolyn.
to the Committee on the Revision of Laws,
House Bill 1630, amending Republic Act 3815, Representative Garcia Gwendolyn.
to the Committee on Revision of Laws,
House Bill 1631, rationalizing the income requirement for the creation of a municipality, Representative Garcia Gwendolyn.
to the Committee on Local Government,
House Bill 1632, granting provinces a share in the proceeds of real property taxes of the Garcia Gwendolyn.
to the Committee on Local Government,
House Bill 1633, providing for the speedy and effective perpetuation of the testimony of vital witness of the Garcia Gwendolyn.
to the Committee on Justice,
House Bill 1634, regulating and packaging, sale, distribution, advancement of hormonal contraceptives of Garcia Gwendolyn.
to the Committee on Population and Family Relations,
House Bill 1635, designating security guards of the Garcia Gwendolyn.
to the Committee on Public Order and Safety,
House Bill 1636, amending Section 24 of Republic Act 7916 of Garcia Gwendolyn.
to the Committee on Economic Affairs and the Committee on Trade and Industry,
House Bill 1637, declaring January 6 every year special non-working holiday, Representative Garcia Gwendolyn.
to the Committee on Revisions of Laws,
House Bill 1638, providing for additional requirements for male citizens of a foreign country desiring to marry Filipinas at Garcia Gwendolyn.
to the Committee on Revision of Laws,
House Bill 1639, empowering provincial governments to administer land reclamation, except Garcia Gwendolyn.
to the Special Committee on Land Use,
House Bill 1641, allocating a portion of excise tax on alcohol and tobacco for the maintenance and operation of state-run drug rehabilitation centers of Batocabe, Garbin and Co.
to the Committee on Dangerous Drugs,
House Bill 1642, providing for the affordable drug rehabilitation treatments at Villarica.
to the Committee on Dangerous Drugs,
House Bill 1643, providing for the construction of service roads at Villarica.
to the Committee on Public Works and Highways,
House Bill 1644, increasing the maternity leave periods at Villarica.
to the Committee on Women and Gender Equality,
House Bill 1645, providing a framework for the right to adequate food at Villarica.
to the Committee on Health,
House Bill 1646, strengthening the regulation of health facilities at Villarica.
to the Committee on Health,
House Bill 1647, strengthening the powers and function of the MTRCB, Representative Villarica.
to the Committee on Public Information,
House Bill 1648, strengthening the Philippine Disaster Risk Reduction and Management System, Representative Salceda.
to the Committee on National Defense and Security,
House Bill 1649, reforming the National Apprenticeship Program sa Villarica.
to the Committee on Labor and Employment,
House Bill 1650, requiring the ERC to conduct a transparent bidding process, Representative Benitez.
to the Committee on Energy,
House Bill 1651, providing for the Macarta of Workers in the Informal Economy, Representative Angara Castillo.
to the Committee on Labor and Employment,
House Bill 1652, establishing a mechanism to enable poor Filipino families to have at least one college graduate, Representative Angara Castillo.
to the Committee on Higher and Technical Education,
House Bill 1653, creating the Mindanao Railways Corporation, Representative Angara Castillo.
to the Committee on Government Enterprises and Privatization and the Committee on Transportation,
House Bill 1654, implementing the People's Right to Information, Representative Angara Castillo.
to the Committee on Public Information,
House Bill 1655, providing for Magna Carta for the PNP, Representative Angara Castillo.
to the Committee on Public Order and Safety,
House Bill 1656 and 1657, amending Section 24 of National Internal Revenue Code, Representative Angara Castillo.
to the Committee on Ways and Means,
House Bill 1658, reducing the corporate income tax rates, Angara Castillo.
to the Committee on Ways and Means,
House Bill 1659, creating the Benham Rice Development Authority, Representative Angara Castillo.
to the Committee on Government Enterprises and Privatization,
House Bill 1660, providing for tax deductions, Representative Angara Castillo.
to the Committee on Ways and Means,
House Bill 1661, institutionalizing the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino Program, Representative Angara Castillo.
to the Committee on Poverty Alleviation,
House Bill 1662, protecting Filipino mothers, Representative Angara Castillo.
to the Committee on Health,
House Bill 1663, creating National Anti-Illegal Drug Campaign, Representative Angara Castillo.
to the Committee on Dangerous Drugs,
House Bill 1664, amending sections 32 and 151 of Republic Act 8424, Representative Cosalan.
to the Committee on Ways and Means,
House Bill 1665, revitalizing the mineral resources extractive industry, Representative Cosalan.
to the Committee on Natural Resources,
House Bill 1666, prescribing urgent-related measures, Representative Revilla.
to the Committee on Transportation,
House Bill 1667, providing free and suitable public education for differently abled children, Representative Revilla.
to the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill 1668, granting additional insurance benefits, Representative Revilla.
to the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill 1669, granting incentives and other benefits to rural health unit doctors, Representative Revilla.
to the Committee on Health,
House Bill 1670, providing for tax exemptions, Representative Revilla.
to the Committee on Local Government,
House Bill 1671, lowering the mandatory retirement age, Representative Revilla.
to the Committee on Government Enterprises and Privatization,
House Bill 1672, establishing a special hospital, Representative Revilla.
to the Committee on Health,
House Bill 1673, amending Section 2 of Republic Act 8187, Representative Revilla.
to the Committee on Labor and Employment,
House Bill 1674, requiring the recycling and utilization of recycled materials, Representative Revilla.
to the Committee on Ecology,
House Bill 1675, renaming Bacoor National High School, Representative Revilla.
to the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill 1676, rationalizing the administration and enforcement of all laws, Representative Revilla.
to the Committee on Labor and Employment,
House Bill 1677, establishing an elderly care and nursing complex, Representative Revilla.
to the Committee on Population and Family Relations,
House Bill 1678, establishing a 100-bed hospital, Representative Revilla.
to the Committee on Health,
House Bill 1679, establishing a high school in Barangay Salinas 2, Representative Revilla.
to the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill 1680, converting the Bacoor National High School, Representative Revilla.
to the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill 1681, establishing an integrated school in Barangay San Nicolas 3, Representative Revilla.
to the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill 1682, establishing an elementary school in Progressive 15, Representative Revilla.
to the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill 1683, increasing the tax on idle lands, Representative Revilla.
to the Committee on Local Government,
House Bill 1684, rationalizing agriculture education, Representative Revilla.
to the Committee on Higher and Technical Education,
House Bill 1685, establishing a domestic airport, Representative Pentebella.
to the Committee on Transportation,
House Bill 1686, providing for the upgrade and modernization of the J.R. Bora City Memorial Hospital, Representative Rodriguez Maximo.
to the Committee on Health,
House Bill 1687, establishing the Filipino Identification System, Representative Rodriguez Maximo.
to the Committee on Population and Family Relations,
House Bill 1688, establishing a city public college, Representative Rodriguez Maximo.
to the Committee on Higher and Technical Education,
House Bill 1689, strengthening the competitiveness of the Philippine motor vehicle manufacturing industry, Representative Rodriguez Maximo.
to the Committee on Trade and Industry,
House Bill 1690, providing incentives for the manufacture, assembly, and importation of electric, hybrid, and other alternative fuel vehicles, Representative Rodriguez Maximo.
to the Committee on Ecology,
House Bill 1691, providing for a comprehensive nuclear regulatory framework, Representative Rodriguez Maximo.
to the Committee on Energy,
House Bill 1692, identifying other persons criminally liable, Representative Rodriguez Maximo.
to the Committee on Suffrage and Electoral Reforms,
House Bill 1693, providing for a comprehensive nursing law, Representative Rodriguez Maximo.
to the Committee on Civil Service and Professional Regulation,
House Bill 1694, institutionalizing the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino Program, Representative Rodriguez Maximo.
to the Committee on Poverty Alleviation,
House Bill 1695, strengthening the political party system, Representative Rodriguez.
to the Committee on Suffrage and Electoral Reforms,
House Bill 1696, amending Section 24 of the NIRC as amended, Representative Rodriguez.
to the Committee on Ways and Means,
House Bill 1697, creating the Commission on Immigration, Representative Rodriguez.
to the Committee on Justice,
House Bill 1698, providing for national mental health care delivery systems, Representative Nograles.
to the Committee on Health,
House Bill 6099, creating the Philippine Trade Representative Office of Nograles.
to the Committee on Trade and Industry,
House Bill 1700, granting the OFWs the right to equal protection on money claims sa Villarin.
to the Committee on Overseas Workers and Affairs,
House Bill 1701, standardizing the base pay allowances and other benefits of all uniformed law enforcement personnel sa Biason.
to the Committee on Appropriations,
House Bill 1702, establishing a rewards program sa Biason.
to the Committee on Public Order and Safety,
House Bill 1703, establishing a rewards for information sa Biason.
to the Committee on Justice,
House Bill 1704, providing for the articles of military justice sa Biason.
to the Committee on National Defense and Security,
House Bill 1705, exempting from all tax, all allowances and benefits granted to public school teachers, Representative Biason.
to the Committee on Ways and Means,
House Bill 1706, prescribing rates of pay and allowances for officers and enlisted personnel, Representative Biason.
to the Committee on National Defense and Security,
House Bill 1707, creating an advanced studies development program, Representative Biason.
to the Committee on Higher and Technical Education,
House Bill 1708, establishing the University of the Philippines in Zamboanga, Representative Biason.
to the Committee on Higher and Technical Education,
House Bill 1709, establishing at least one special education center sa Biason.
to the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill 1710, establishing a college educational trust fund, Representative Biason.
to the Committee on Higher and Technical Education,
House Bill 1711, providing for the establishment of the Filipino Identification System, Representative Romualdo.
to the Committee on Population and Family Relations,
House Bill 1712, increasing the authorized campaign expenses, Representative Uwabinal.
to the Committee on Suffrage and Electoral Reforms,
House Bill 1713, promoting the manufacture, importation, sale, distribution, use, and development of hybrid and alternative fuel vehicles at Biason.
to the Committee on Ecology,
House Bill 1714, increasing the penalty imposed against polluters at Biason.
to the Committee on Ecology,
House Bill 1715, establishing a strategic food security rice reserve at Biason.
to the Committee on Ecology,
House Bill 1716, providing for Magna Carta for agricultural development workers, Representative Biason.
to the Committee on Agriculture and Food, and the Special Committee on Food Security,
House Bill 1717, rationalizing agriculture education in the Philippines, Representative Biason.
to the Committee on Agriculture and Food,
House Bill 1718, establishing an integrated system for agriculture technologies, Representative Biason.
to the Committee on Higher and Technical Education,
House Bill 1719, institutionalizing microcredit financing, Representative Biason.
to the Committee on Agriculture and Food,
House Bill 1720, promoting the agriculture industry, Representative Biason.
to the Committee on Agriculture and Food and the Special Committee on Agrarian Reform,
House Bill 1721, defining the vision and policies of government, Representative Biason.
to the Committee on Agriculture and Food,
House Bill 1722, creating local housing board, Representative Biason.
to the Committee on Housing and Urban Development,
House Bill 1723, providing additional protection to buyers, Representative Biason.
to the Committee on Housing and Urban Development,
House Bill 1724, prescribing the mechanisms to facilitate the disposition of government-owned lands, Representative Biason.
to the Committee on Housing and Urban Development,
House Bill 1725, creating a National Transportation Safety Board, Representative Biason.
to the Committee on Transportation,
House Bill 1726, creating a Maritime Court, Representative Biason.
to the Committee on Justice,
House Bill 1727, amending Republic Act 892, Representative Biason.
to the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill 1728, granting franking privileges, Representative Biason.
to the Committee on Local Government,
House Bill 1729, separating Itaas Elementary School, Representative Biason.
to the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill 1731, establishing the PhilInvest Alabang Elementary School, Representative Biason.
to the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill numbers 1734 to 1738, 1747 to 1750.
to the Committee on Aquaculture and Fisheries Resources,
House Bill 1739, requiring all hospitals of Tan Angelina.
to the Committee on Health,
House Bill 1740, accrediting the Philippine Medical Association of Tan Angelina.
to the Committee on Civil Service and Professional Regulation,
House Bill 1741, providing tax credit, Tan Angelina.
to the Committee on Health, to the Committee on Ways and Means,
House Bill 1742, providing provisional relief to certain victims of Tan Angelina.
to the Committee on Social Services,
House Bill 1743, providing assistance to indigent cancer patients of Tan Angelina.
to the Committee on Health,
House Bill 1744, providing for the mandatory appointment of a tradition officer of Tan Angelina.
to the Committee on Local Government,
House Bill 1745 requiring all provinces and cities throughout the country to acquire potable water, Septan Angelina.
To the Committee on Local Government,
House Bill 1746 providing for the construction of cocoa coir tufting plant facility, Septan Angelina.
to the Committee on Agriculture and Food,
House Bill 1751 to 1759 providing for the construction of cocoa coir tufting plants at Septan Angelina.
to the Committee on Agriculture and Food,
House Bill 1760 renationalizing Petron Corporation, Representative Zarate.
to the Committee on Energy,
House Bill 1761 defining strategic lawsuits, Zarate.
to the Committee on Justice,
House Bill 1762 providing for the protection, security, and benefits of whistleblowers, Zarate.
to the Committee on Justice,
House Bill 1763 establishing in every 2 to 3 contiguous barangays, Zarate.
to the Committee on National Defense and Security,
House Bill 1764 is institutionalizing the National School Feeding Programs, Zarate.
to the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill 1765 requiring the installation of carbon monoxide detectors in school buildings, Vargas.
to the Committee on Ecology,
House Bill 1766 regulating personal training, Vargas.
to the Committee on Trade and Industry,
House Bill 1767 requiring certain financial institutions, Vargas.
to the Committee on Banks and Financial Enterprises, Intermediaries,
House Bill 1768 requiring elementary and secondary schools to create and maintain the medical and dental records, Vargas.
to the Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill 1775 establishing a vegetable garden, Katamco.
to the Committee on Basic Education and Culture,
House Bill 1776 promoting agricultural technologies, Representative Katamco.
to the Committee on Agriculture and Food,
House Bill 1777 providing for the establishment of an indigenous training center, Representative Katamco.
to the Committee on Indigenous Cultural Communities and Indigenous Peoples,
House Bill 1778 establishing the PNP Environmental Police Unit, Katamco.
to the Committee on Public Order and Safety,
House Bill 1779 establishing a drug abuse and alcoholism rehabilitation treatment center, Katamco.
to the Committee on Dangerous Drugs,
House Bill 1780 lowering the retirement age of government employees, Representative Katamco.
to the Committee on Government Enterprises and Privatization,
House Bill 1781 creating the Department of Indigenous Peoples, Representative Katamco.
to the Committee on Government Reorganization and the Committee on Indigenous Cultural Communities and Indigenous Peoples,
House Bill 1782 establishing a drug abuse and alcoholism rehabilitation center in every region, Katamco.
to the Committee on Dangerous Drugs,
House Bill 1783 converting the Cotabato Provincial Hospital, Katamco.
to the Committee on Health,
House Bill 1784 requiring mandatory security inspections at Vargas.
to the Committee on Public Order and Safety,
House Bill 1789 making the Barangay Secretary Plantilla position, Babeg.
to the Committee on Local Government,
House Bill 1790 creating a full consular office in Alberta, Canada, sa De Jesus Embrosas.
to the Committee on Foreign Affairs,
House Bill 1791 providing for financial assistance for distressed OFWs at De Jesus Embrosas.
to the Committee on Overseas Workers and Affairs,
House Bill 1792 authorizing the Supreme Court to designate special courts at De Jesus Embrosas.
to the Committee on Overseas Workers Affairs,
House Bill 1793 prohibiting the establishment of political dynasts at Tambunting.
to the Committee on Suffrage and Electoral Reforms,
House Bill 1794 establishing a framework for film and television tourism sa Villapuerte.
to the Committee on Public Information,
House Bill 1795 protection, conservation, and rehabilitation of watersheds at Villapuerte.
to the Committee on Natural Resources,
House Bill 1797 prescribing reduced rates of interconnection charges at Castelo.
to the Committee on Information and Communications and Technology,
House Bill 1798 mandating regular regulatory audit of Meralco at Castelo.
to the Committee on Energy,
House Bill 1799 requiring grand malls at Castelo.
to the Committee on Trade and Industry,
House Bill 1800 authorizing local government unit to create a corporate entity. Nieto, Noel, Nograles Jericho, Nograles Carlo, Nolasco, Nunez Malaynaon, Uwaminal, Ocampo, Olivar Henry, Ortega Pablo, Ortega Vini, Pacquiao, Paduano, Palma, Pancho, Panganiban, Panotes, Papandayan, Pichay, Pimentel, Pineda, Plaza, Primicia Sagabas, Kimbo, Radasa, Ramirez Sato, Ramos, Relampagos, Revilla, Roa Puno, Robes, Rocamora, Rodriguez Isidro, Rodriguez Maximo, Roman, Romero, Romualdez, Romualdo, Roque Hari, Roque Rogelio, Sakdalan, Sagarbaria, Sahali, Salceda, Salimbangon, Salo, Salon, Sambar, Sandoval, Santos Recto, Sarmiento Cesar, Sarmiento Edgar, Sabiliano, Sema, Xiao, Silverio, Singson, Swansing Strila, Swansing Horacio, Suarez, Si Alvarado, Tambunting, Tan Angelina, Tan Milagrosa, Tan Sherney, Tejada, Teves, Chanco, Ting, Tiño, Tolentino, Treñas, Tugna, Tupas, Turabi Nataman, Ti, Umali, Unabia, Ungab, Unico, Uy Juliet, Uy Rolando, Vargas, Vargas Alfonso, Vilarde, Velasco, Velasco Catera, Veloso, Vergara, Villapuerte, Villanueva, Villar, Villaraza Suarez, Villarica, Villarin, Biolago, Yap Arthur, Yap Melesio, Yap Victor, Yu, Zamora Mar Carmen, Zamora Ronaldo, Sarate, Subiri.
Yeah. This speech, ha? Oo. Kamusta man ang caucus? Kamusta man ang caucus?
Mr. Speaker, the roll call shows that 273 members responded to the call.
With 273 members responding to a call, the chair declares a quorum. Distinguished Majority Leader,
Mr. Speaker, Your Honor, I move that we resume the privilege hour. So move, Mr. Speaker, Your Honor.
Any objection? There being no objection, the chair declares a privilege hour.
Mr. Speaker, I rise on a personal and collective privilege, Mr. Speaker.
Distinguished Majority Leader,
Mr. Speaker, I move that we suspend session for a few minutes.
motion suspended. Session resumed. Distinguished Majority Leader,
Mr. Speaker, Your Honor, our parliamentary status is that we have declared a privilege hour. The Honorable Tomasito Villarin of the party list Akbayan rose to make a manifestation to speak on a matter of personal privilege on matters regarding the party list system. This representation prevailed upon him to follow the order of registrants on the privilege hour, to give way to our colleagues who have been waiting for their chance to speak, and he so graciously agreed. So we would like to thank the Honorable Villarin for letting us follow our administrative procedure, and we assure him of his chance to speak on matters very important to him.
the manifestation of the distinguished Majority Leader is noted.
With that, Mr. Speaker, Your Honor, I move that we recognize the gentleman from the party list Anak Pawis, the Honorable Ariel Casilaw, to speak during the privilege hour. So move, Mr. Speaker, Your Honor.
The gentleman from the party list Anak Pawis is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Majority Leader. Honorable Speaker, fellow lawmakers, good afternoon. I was supposed to deliver this speech last week, a few days after the SONA of President Rodrigo Roa Duterte, especially when delegates of the Manila Lakbayan ng Mindanao were present at the plenary. I was not able to do so because of some circumstances. This representation from the Anak Pawis party list would like to take this opportunity to formally send our greetings to President Rodrigo Roa Duterte, who recently delivered his first State of the Nation address. I would like also to commend the Honorable Speaker, Pantaleon Bebot Alvarez, a fellow Mindanaoan, the House leadership, the various staff and employees of the House of Representatives for successfully hosting last Monday's simple, non-lavish, but meaningful and even historic State of the Nation address. I reserve my highest salute, however, to our countrymen who mobilized across the country for President's first SONA, especially the 3,000-strong Lumad, Moro, and farmers contingent from the Mindanao who joined the week-long caravan to Manila and participated in the giant mobilization along Batasan Road. In support of the progressive policies promised by the new President. Mr. Speaker, my speech today revolves around the issue of the resumption of the peace talks between the National Democratic Front of the Philippines and the government. We in Anak Pawis have long been pushing for this even during the previous administration, especially as we anticipate along this deliberation of matters pertaining to social economic reforms crucial in solving the root causes of the armed conflict in the country. Mr. Speaker, mga kapwa ko mambabatas, ang armadong pakikibakang isinusulong ng New People's Army ay pangunahing bunsod ng kawalan ng lupa. Ayon sa Communist Party of the Philippines, ito ay isang digmaang magsasaka na nagsusulong ng revolusyonaryong agraryo o ang pakikibaka para maipamahagi sa mga magsasaka ang lupang matagal ng monopolisado. Monopolisado ng mga mayayamang hasyendero o ng mga Panginoong may lupa at dayuhang agrikorporasyon. In relation to this, Mr. Speaker, mga kapwa mambabatas, umaasa akong yakap natin ang mga aral ng kasaysayan ng ating bansa. Partikular na ito ay kalakhan na binubuo ng mga armadong paglaban ng mamayang Pilipino mula pa ng kolonyalismong Espanyol, Revolusyon Pilipino na pinangunahan ni Gat Andres Bonifacio ng 1896, Philippine-American War, resistance against Japanese occupation and fascism, and Huk Rebellion mula noon. At mula noong dekada 70 hanggang sa kasulukuyan ng New People's Army. I would like to stress, Mr. Speaker, na sa lahat ng bahagi ng kasaysayang ito, kami ay naniniwalang nakabatay ito sa usapin ng karapatan o sino ang may kontrol sa lupa. Na mapasang hanggang ngayon ay hindi napapasakamay ng mga Pilipinong magsasaka. With more than 4 decades of armed conflict between the government and the CPP, NPA, NDF, I seriously hope that it is clear among my fellow lawmakers that the root causes must be seriously addressed. At present, an effective forum is the forthcoming formal peace talks between the NDFP and the government. As I come from Davao City, Mr. Speaker, I have many times over personally witnessed how past administrations violently violated the rights of the farmers and lumads who have been long struggling for their rights to their land. I hope that my fellow lawmakers are informed of the lumad situation in Mindanao, of how the previous administration, the Aquino regime, implemented its counterinsurgency operations that led to massive militarization, extrajudicial killings, evacuation, and other forms of human rights violations. Since the visit of Secretary of the DSWD, Judy Taguiwalo, last June 2016, About 700 LUMAD evacuees remain in UCCP Haran compound in Davao City as they could not return to their communities because of the continuing militarization. On the last day of the Aquino regime, there were brutal violations reported. About 4,000 LUMAD evacuees still staying in Tandag City, Surigao del Sur, since the brutal killing of Al-Kadeb school leader Emerito Samarca, LUMAD leader Junel Campos, and Juvilo Sinso in September 2015. Mr. Speaker, mga kasamahan kong mambabatas, sana ay maunawaan natin kung bakit sila nagbakwit. Ito ay dahil tinutulan nila ang mga tulad ng mining operations, plantations, at iba pang umaagaw sa kanilang lupang ninuno o ancestral lands. Tens of thousands from different LUMAD communities are fighting for their rights to ancestral land and are being violently repressed by state agents in the process. I sincerely hope that we and Congress can join them in calling for the immediate pull-out of military units in LUMAD areas. From July 2010 to December 2015, under the Aquino presidency, according to the human rights group, the number of victims of extrajudicial killings have reached to 307. Enforced disappearances, 30. Torture, 215. Forced evacuation, more than 105,000. Harassments, nearly 200,000. Mr. Speaker, fellow lawmakers, all these have been the extremely high cost of President Aquino's counterinsurgency operational plan o Plan Bayanihan. Noong January pa lamang po, bago pa ang presidential campaign season, ipinangako na ni Presidente Duterte ang resumption ng peace talks. At noong Mayo, inalok niya ang pwesto sa gobyerno ang CPP, NPA, NDF. At noong Mayo, at nangakong palayain ang mga political prisoners. Noong Hunyo, tumungo sa Norway ang mga kinatawan ng Pangulo sa preliminary talks, kung saan nagsilbing observer ang inyong lingkod para sa government side. However, regarding the President's lifting of his declared ceasefire last Saturday, we intend to remain on the positive outlook of expressing our utmost support of being hopeful of the resumption of the formal peace talks set on August 20 in Oslo, Norway. While we urge the President to fully push with the formal talks, we would like to remind him that the AFP affected no change in carrying out its counterinsurgency operations in the countrysides. Mr. Speaker, mga kapwa mambabatas, kahit noon pa lamang Enero ay paulit-ulit nang ipinapahayag ng Presidente ang kanyang intensyon na ituloy ang peace talks. Ang AFP ay nagpapatuloy pa rin sa pang-aabuso sa mga mamamayan, katulad ng ginawa nito sa ilalim ng Oplan Bayanihan. Ang ilan dito ay nakaulat sa iba't ibang media outlets at mga NGOs. 1. July 8 and 9, aerial bombing in Barangay Pichon, Caraga, Davao Oriental, ng 60th IBPA kasama ang paramilitary group na Mandaya Ancestral Defense Unit o Manado. Number 2, July 15, extrajudicial killing sa isang leader LUMAD at wounding sa isa pa sa Tugbok District, Davao City ng hinihinalang mga membro ng paramilitary group na Alamara. July 24, harassment ng mga ahente ng militar sa isang administrator ng isang LUMAD school sa kanyang pamilya na pumasyal sa Regional Hospital ng Tagum City, Davao del Norte. July 26, torture ng sundalo sa isang manggagawang bukid ng Abaca sa San Miguel, Catanduanes. Itinali siya, pinagsisipa, itinali sa puno at nilagyan ng plastic ang kanyang ulo. Number 5, July 29, tinukoy ng 39th IBPA na ang 5 barangay sa Kidapawan City ay stronghold umano ng NPA. Kung kaya tinatarget ito para sa PDOP o Peace and Development Outreach Program. At number 6, July 30, bago pa ang lifting ng ceasefire ng Pangulo, pagpatay sa isang buntis at pagsugat sa 7 pa, nakasama ang 5 kabataan sa Barangay Kawayan, San Fernando, Bukidnon ng paramilitary group na New Indigenous Peoples Army o NIPAR. Mr. Speaker, mga kapwa mambabatas, habang abala ang Pangulo at ang kanyang negotiating panel para sa formal o sa paghahanda ng formal peace talks, ang AFP naman ay tuloy-tuloy lamang sa pag-atake. Kahit noong magdeklara ng ceasefire ang Pangulo, nagpatuloy lamang ang AFP sa mga operasyon nito. Kaya kung mayroon mang tutol sa kapayapaan sa bansa, lumalabas na ito ay walang iba kundi ang AFP dahil patuloy nitong dinadahas ang mamamayang nanindigan para sa kanilang mga karapatan. Mr. Speaker, while there is already a change in government leaders, how come there is no change in the fascist outlook of the AFP? Militarization and abuses against the people continue. Worse, these paramilitary groups remain to wreak havoc among lumad and farmer communities. Kaya in light of the taking the road to a just and lasting peace, hinihikayat ko ang aking mga kapwa mambabatas na suportahan ang napagkasunduan ng NDFP at ng gobyerno tulad ng 1992 Hague Joint Declaration, ang 1995 Joint Agreement on Safety and Immunity Guarantees at 1998 Comprehensive Agreement on Respect for Human Rights and International Humanitarian Law. At ang susunod na isasalang sa negosasyon na socio-economic reforms. Sa agendang ito, mayor na usapin ang agrarian reform, national industrialization, wage at ang karapatan sa lupang ninuno ng mga IPs at iba pang mga socio-economic rights ng mamamayan. Mr. Speaker, I sincerely hope that my fellow House members fully appreciate this time the administration can play an active role and significant role in pursuit of the peace in our country. Or in the words of President himself, peace of the living is a paramount challenge, thus for the House of Representatives to legislate measures that will lead the nation to path of peace. Even as the various sectors of the people, especially the toiling masses, continue to struggle for just and lasting peace. Peace that is based on justice. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, I call on my fellow House members to support every effort to release all political prisoners, including the NDFP consultants, protected by JASIGs, the elderly, the sickly, which is very important factor, in fact, in building a more favorable condition for the success of the peace negotiation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. Dagang salamat, maayong hapon ka natong tanan.
Distinguished Majority Leader,
Mr. Speaker, Your Honor, I move that we refer the speech of the Honorable Casilao to the Committee on Rules. So move, Mr. Speaker, Your Honor.
any objection? The Chair, hearing none, the speech of the gentleman from the party list, Anak Pawis, is referred to the Committee on Rules.
Mr. Speaker, the next of our colleagues who wishes to avail of the privilege hour is the gentleman from the 3rd District of Camarines Sur. I move that we recognize the Honorable Gabriel Bordado. So move, Mr. Speaker, Your Honor.
Representative Gabriel H. Bordado is hereby recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am a new fight representative from the 3rd District of Camarines Sur. Ang pinanggalingan po ng dating kinatawan at ngayon Vice President Leni Gerona Robredo. After listening to President Rodrigo Roa Duterte's first ever State of the Nation address during the inaugural session of the 17th Congress last July 25, and the erudite argumentations propounded by some of our brilliant colleagues during the 2 succeeding sessions, I mustered enough courage to avail myself of this privileged hour. I rejoiced when the President declared his firm resolve to intensify the crusade against the purveyors of illegal drugs and to overhaul the Philippine railway system, among other things. Indeed, the drug menace is systematically destroying the very foundation of our nation. We must, by all means, support the President to nip the menace in the bud. However, Mr. Speaker, the spate of killings in recent days has triggered pained and alarmed reactions from various sectors. In fact, right here in the House, I was riveted to the compelling discourses on the matter last night. There is a need, I believe, Mr. Speaker, to raise the alarm, so to speak. I am therefore appealing to our President and to the outstanding legal minds in Congress to put in place systems and mechanisms aimed at protecting the innocent and the helpless without necessarily affecting the momentum and the traction of the current all-out war against illegal drugs. As for the national railway system, the President's call for an overhaul is definitely a step in the right direction. For decades, the economic development of my region, Bicol, had been, as pointed out by my kahimanwa, the very intelligent and articulate Representative Edsel Lagman of Albay, dependent in no small measure, Mr. Speaker, on an efficient and effective railway system. Yet, despite the millions of pesos poured into its rehabilitation, the Philippine National Railways, Mr. Speaker, seems to have been trapped in a veritable limbo. That is why in Bicol, some critics say that the PNR stands for Perminang Raot, or as roughly translated in English, in a perpetual state of disrepair. Meanwhile, Mr. Speaker, I commend President Duterte for walking the extra mile, as Secretary Duresa puts it. Although there was a misstep on the part of Duresa, as some quarters aver, this must not deter the President from continuing to pursue all avenues and leeways to end once and for all what is supposed to be Asia's longest running insurgency problem. Let's all give peace of the living, to use the President's own words, a fighting chance. Mr. Speaker, I belong to the majority, and I wish to reiterate my position of supporting President Duterte's administration in the Herculean task of nation building through the crafting of legislative measures in conformity with the President's development agenda as spelled out in the SONA. This does not, however, Mr. Speaker, preclude me from voicing out from time to time concerns regarding the issues affecting the nation in general and my district in particular. Mr. Speaker, I am sure that under your leadership, under the leadership of Speaker Alvarez, we will continue having an open and healthy exchange of ideas in this House, regardless of political affiliations. To paraphrase the famous remarks of a nation leader, let 1,000 flowers bloom. Let 100 schools of thought contend to promote progress and peace of the living in our beloved nation. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Distinguished Majority Leader,
Mr. Speaker, I move that we refer the speech of the Honorable Bordado to the Committee on Rules. So move, Mr. Speaker, Your Honor.
any objection? The Chair, hearing none. The speech of the Honorable Bordado is directed to be referred to the Committee on Rules. Distinguished Majority Leader,
Mr. Speaker, Your Honor, the next to avail of the privilege hour is the gentleman from the party list Ang Edukasyon, the Honorable Salvador Belaro. I move for the recognition of the Honorable Belaro. So move, Mr. Speaker, Your Honor.
any objection? There being no objection, the distinguished member or the distinguished Pilano is hereby recognized.
Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues in this august body, guests at the gallery, particularly those from Unang Edukasyon party list, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Last week, I requested that this representation be allowed to deliver a privileged speech regarding President Rodrigo Duterte's State of the Nation address in relation to education. However, a disturbing development transpired towards the weekend, which made me change the slant of my speech and to morph it into one of personal privilege. That development is the unfortunate comment of the President regarding party lists, that the party list system has been, among others, abused, and that it's become a mockery of the law. This was followed, ladies and gentlemen, by acerbic bashings of the party list system in Facebook and the social media, prompting our supporters from different parts of the country to urge us to issue a statement in our defense. After all, it is a basic rule in evidence that whenever there is an opportunity to object and one does not state it, he is forever barred to do so. As an active practicing lawyer for the past 20 years, and as a former dean of a college of law, this representation feels that he should be one of the very first in this august body to assert it. In making this speech, I do not mean to speak for the entire 59 party list groups in Congress today. This representation only speaks for our party. Neither do we mean that we are withdrawing our unqualified support for the sweeping reforms being made by the President, as we remain ready to complement his reforms with matching legislative action in the field of education. For the record, ladies and gentlemen, our party, Unang Edukasyon, wishes to take exception to the comment of the President and to state that our presence in Congress is not a mockery of the law. We are a first-term, first-try party list in the 17th Congress. While we started applying for accreditation only in 2013, we were only allowed to participate in the party list elections during the elections of May 9, 2016. We are actually, ladies and gentlemen, a group of ragtag educators, mostly college professors who dream of making a real difference in this country by stepping down from our ivory towers to try our luck at the electoral process, believing that Congress would be a more effective venue to translate our ideas into realistic legislative actions. We campaigned hard, ladies and gentlemen. Despite our meager resources, we crossed the seas, we trekked hills and climbed mountains, literally and figuratively, just to convey our message across to voters that ang tunay na pag-asa ay nasa edukasyon. We campaigned to work for the eradication of the education gap, the annual phenomenon of 600,000 graduates of our schools with no jobs or mismatched jobs. We campaigned for the democratization of access to education, to extend to the underprivileged and those in the fringes of society. We battled for globalization of our education standards and for teachers and students' welfare. We all did that with fiery passion and commitment. Whatever we lack in resources, we made it up for it by the zeal and unceasing enthusiasm of our supporters who were armed with nothing but mimeographed flyers containing our mission and vision, as well as our intended program of action. The President's comment, ladies and gentlemen, is highly unfair and does not do justice to the efforts of our supporters who staked blood, sweat, and tears just to ensure our representation in this august body. It's not just about money, ladies and gentlemen. The past elections will show that not only a big war chest can make you win. We campaigned on a shoestring budget, in fact, where the law allows a maximum expense of 10 pesos per voter for the country's around 50 million voters for national positions, like that for party lists. We only spent a very meager amount. In contrast, we know of other party list groups whose election expenses reached already 50 million pesos and above, but still did not make it. Some of them even had costly television advertisements. We never had any. We were voted by 278,693 of our countrymen. This speech is a tribute to them as they believe that we can do something for them, and who repose trust in the party list system as an avenue for effecting meaningful changes in our country. We do not wish to frustrate them, nor do we want them to be disheartened by the unfortunate remarks of the President. We are citing this to prove that more than money, platform also counts in the party list elections. I repeat, ladies and gentlemen, platform also counts in the party list elections. Our victory is an eloquent testimony that at the very least, a portion of our electorate is mature enough to go beyond the usual election rhetoric in determining the best candidates for their choice. Our victory only affirms the intent of the party list system to catapult to Congress groups which can in no way win in district elections, but which has a substantial national constituency so as to deserve a seat in Congress. That is a very noble intent, ladies and gentlemen, as it would pave the way for a new breed of congressmen who did not spend a lot to secure a seat in Congress. Thus, the party list system is an equalizing measure, one of the recent praiseworthy legal innovations in recent history that is in sync with democratization of power and the promotion of social justice. Ladies and gentlemen, look at me right now. Were it not for the party list system, this representation, who is the son of a farmer and a public school teacher from the boondocks of Camarines Sur, born in the side streets of Iriga City and raised in the rice lands of Goa, Camarines Sur, would never have stood a chance to stand before you today. Yes, we trust that our electorate also possess the maturity in determining candidates with credible credentials from those with shallow ones. For our nominees in the last elections, we chose only the most qualified and the most committed from our ranks. Not only that, we chose nominees who exemplify what we preach. Nominees who are self-made persons whose lives mirror our vision that you can change your life through education. Thus, we have as our nominees Dr. Nestor de la Cruz, who is one of the pillars of tertiary education in the country and is one of the most outstanding educators ever produced by the University of Santo Tomas. Attorney Dexter Francisco is a professor of constitutional law and one of the country's top election lawyers. Dr. Edith Bunoan is one of the respected faculty members of Far Eastern University, having been a teacher for the past 35 years, while Eunice Gicana is a multi-awarded youth community organizer. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, we have this representation who, begging your kind indulgence, ladies and gentlemen, is an honor graduate of the University of the Philippines, a class president at the UP College of Law, and a holder of a Master of Laws degree from Cornell University, where I was elected class representative of the LLM class of 2004. With these qualifications, ladies and gentlemen, this representation respectfully submits that our nominees more than substantially comply with the requirement in the party list law that nominees should be able to contribute to the enrichment of legislative agenda. In fact, with all due respect, we submit that the credentials of our nominees typify no less than the ideal credentials for those entering government service. It is rather unfortunate that the President's remark disparages our initial efforts to do our best in the performance of our legislative tasks, as we are very serious in doing good work in the 17th Congress. To show proof of our intent, this representation, in the very first day in office, filed 30 bills and resolutions, all relating to education, and all of which breathe life to our advocacy of fostering and empowering education in our country. Because of the coincidence, ladies and gentlemen, in the number, we refer to them as the Duterte bills and resolutions. Because just like the President, we also want pressing reforms done in the field of education. Some of these bills seek to democratize access to education, includes bill for the creation of community colleges, the College Loan Act, establishment of the National Center for Scholarships. Some bills are meant to improve the quality of our education, such as the Research Incentives Act, the Online Library Act, the Computer in Internet Access Act. Some bills are intended to improve the welfare of teachers, including the Teachers Dependent Act, the minimum salary increase for teachers, Teachers Non-Discrimination Act, and Teachers for the Barrios Act. For our students, we offer the School Nutrition Act, the Dorm Rent Control Law, Teachers and Students Insurance Act, and the School Accessibility Act. We also wish to facilitate the transition of our graduates in making their education economically useful by proposing the Job Fair Act of 2016, the Barangay Employment Act, the employability of graduates of senior high schools, and the granting of first-level civil service eligibility to graduates of TESDA courses. In addition, Mr. Speaker, we are seeking a congressional investigation in aid of legislation of the education gap. We are also seeking an investigation of the unliquidated 1 billion pesos scholarship fund by the Commission on Higher Education. And this is a hot issue right now, ladies and gentlemen. We are also calling a congressional investigation on the status of the implementation of K-12 by the Department of Education. At this juncture, ladies and gentlemen, we are happy to find out that we have kindred spirits among the 59 other party list members in the present Congress, as my colleagues in the party list bloc, in their own right, because this representation can vouch for their credentials and accomplishments that entitle them to be worthy of this august body. We may not agree with each other on a lot of matters, but we certainly cannot deny that with respect to the advocacies they are pushing for in this august body, their competence and expertise cannot be denied. We have amongst us in the party list bloc an expert in international law, many experts in labor, cooperatives, education, consumer rights, youth and sports development, advocates of the welfare of the regions they represent, and those with unquestionable track record in employment generation and uplifting the plight of the marginalized sectors of our society. I am especially proud, ladies and gentlemen, that I am part of the party list bloc in the 17th Congress, as this represents right now the highest stage of evolution of the party list system in the Philippines, which started 21 years ago. As in the case of many organizations, each one follows a learning curve through the years. The party list system is not an exception to this. It has withstood the test of time, and so far, this batch of party lists in the 17th Congress is the best so far. Not because the representation belongs to them, but because of their verifiable credentials and accomplishments. In rising to the defense of our honor, begging the kind indulgence of the majority where their representation belongs, as well as that of the party-list system in general, this representation reiterates that we do not mean to denigrate our party's respect for the President, to whom we express our unwavering and unqualified support. We still remain to have utmost faith in the sweeping reforms he is implementing all over the country. And as a Filipino, we cannot but have a sense of pride in his accomplishments in so short a time. Thus, his comment on the party-list system notwithstanding, we remain his staunch supporter, who is willing to match his sweeping reforms by corresponding legislative reforms in the field of education that we hope to initiate. That is why, ladies and gentlemen, when the President was criticized for not mentioning much about education in his State of the Nation address, this representation was one of the very first to cite during media interviews that while what he said in his State of the Nation address on education was only very brief, he nevertheless cited magic words, which for educators like us already state mouthfuls. When the President spoke of expanding ALS, or the Alternative Learning System, it is an express recognition of the limitations of our educational system and the need to expand its coverage to those in the fringes of society. When the President spoke of installing Wi-Fi facilities in schools, we were thrilled by the idea because putting up Wi-Fi will open up a whole new world for even those students and teachers in far-flung areas. It will definitely revolutionize not only instruction, communication, and administrations of schools all over the country. No other president in previous States of the Nation address has spoken on this. And if realized, the President's policy directions on education conveyed in his SONA will herald a revolutionary democratization of our educational system. It was once said, in every crisis, there is an opportunity. Indeed, the unfortunate comment of the President on the party-list system has cast doubts on the credibility of the members of the party-list bloc in the 17th Congress, resulting in what may be referred to as a crisis in the image of the party-list system in general. Ladies and gentlemen, particularly those who are members of the party-list bloc, may I respectfully and humbly request that you consider 3 opportunities by such crisis, which I challenge all my fellow party list members in the 17th Congress to respond accordingly, as I'm very sure you are all capable of surmounting the challenge. First is the opportunity of education. This is the best time for us to educate the general public on the importance of the party list system. Second is the opportunity of projection. This is also the time which we can showcase the accomplishments of the party list system thus far, through the years that it went through its learning curve. Third is the opportunity of raising the bar of what the party list which went before us has done, of correcting mistakes from the past and learning from them. Once again, we are one with the President in his efforts to institute sweeping reforms in the country, and we are hoping that at least in the field of education, we can be considered as worthy partners who are willing to match these reforms with corresponding legislative actions. Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen, the reforms being conducted by the President, the sweeping reforms at that, can be likened to housekeeping and house cleaning. And in this regard, let all the dirt, the stains in the cobwebs go. Let also all the rodents, the insects in the wasps go. But by analogy in the government, in the party list system, let us also evaluate our actions, identify our mistakes, and correct them. In the same manner, we should also learn from them and treasure the gains. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the prudent way, the best way, the only way to ensure the continuance of the vibrancy of our democracy, and not the way which would bring the house down, demolish it, and destroy the very structure of government which supports it. Thank you. God bless you. God bless the 17th Congress. God bless the Republic of the Philippines.
Distinguished Majority Leader,
Mr. Speaker, I move that we refer the privileged speech of the Honorable Representative Salvador B. Belaro of Party List 1, Ang Edukasyon, to the Committee on Rules. So moved, Mr. Speaker.
any objection? The Chair, hearing none, the speech of the gentleman from the party list, Ang Edukasyon, is referred to the Committee on Rules. Distinguished Majority Leader,
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize the distinguished representative from the 1st District of Bulacan, Representative Jose Antonio R. C. Alvarado, for his privileged speech.
any objection? The Chair, hearing none, the representative from the 1st District of Bulacan is hereby recognized.
Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, honorable members of the House of Representatives, constituents from Bulacan, ladies and gentlemen, I rise on a matter of personal and collective privilege regarding the implementation of Republic Act 105-86, also known as Anti-Drunk and Drug Driving Act of 2013, and the current state of it. I rise today in line with the increasing reports on road safety and road accidents reported due to drunk driving or drunk driving under the influence of drugs and similar substances. And here are some statistics. The Philippine National Police Highway Patrol Group recorded vehicular accidents involving drunk drivers nationwide, 375 in the year 2012, 390 in the year 2013, 498 in the year 2014, and last year, there were 95,615 recorded incidents of accidents that killed 519 persons and injured 17,100 persons in the NCR alone, according to the MMDA. Moreover, the World Health Organization on its Global Status Report on Road Safety last 2015 reported the following. Worldwide, the total number of road traffic deaths has plateaued a 1.25 million per year. Motorcyclists comprise 23% of deaths, and with the highest road traffic fatalities rates in low-income countries. In the last 3 years, 17 countries has aligned at least one of their laws with the best practice on seatbelts, drunk driving, speed, motorcycle helmets of child restraints. The Philippines, grouped as one of the middle-income countries, has aligned its laws with the said best practices. However, on WHO's report, our country received the following rating. As to the implementation of the enforcement of the speed limit law and seatbelt law, Philippines was given a rating of 5 out of 10 and 6 out of 10 rating in the implementation of motorcycle helmet law. but WHO noted that the law does not require the helmet to be fastened. In the enforcement of drunk driving law, the Philippines got a dismal 1 out of 10 rating. Even more alarming are the reports on our newspapers recently that also concerns road safety and road rage. Like in the case of Leandro Ander, Elmer Ignacio, Jerome Galasinaw, Malito Manalo versus Florida Bus Line, a tricycle collided with a bus that killed 4 people last May 21, 2016 in Iligan City, Cagayan Province. Also, a bike rider named Mark Vincent Garalde allegedly shot dead by Army Reservist Von Tanto last July 25, 2016 in Quiapo, Manila. Mr. Speaker, it is quintessential for this country to ask if these similar incidents are caused by driving under the influence of alcohol, drugs, or similar substances. Mr. Speaker, kung inyo pong natatandaan, ako po ay nagpakilala sa Kongresong ito ng Pilipinas nang nakasuot pa ng neck brace. Dahil po nung nakaraang February 28, 1:30 ng madaling araw habang po ako'y pauwi sa aking tahanan sa Kalumpit, Bulacan, galing po ng Malolos City, ako po ay nabangga head-on collision ng isang pulis. Wala pong dalang OR, walang dalang CR, wala ring lisensya, at sabi sa police report ay amoy alak. Mr. Speaker, dahil po dito, nabasag po yung aking eye socket, nabasag po yung aking ilong, na ako ang personal na nagbalik. Dahil kung hindi ko ibabalik, baka hindi ako makapangampanya. Nabasag din po yung aking pisngi, ilang pirasong tadyang, at ilang buto sa likod, kasama na po ang aking mga cervical spine na C3, C4 at C5, pare-parehas pong nagkaroon ng linear fracture. Kaya sabi ko nga po, kinailangan kong isuot ito sa loob daw lamang ng 2 buwan. Ngunit sa susunod ko pong check-up, sinabi, gawin ko ng 5 buwan para ako'y makasiguro. Dahil po sa incidenting ito, Mr. Speaker, akala ko po ay hindi na ako mabubuhay. Ngunit sa awa po ng Panginoon, pinagbigyan niya ako ng kanya sa aking kahilingan na magkaroon pa ng mahabang buhay. Ito po siguro, Mr. Speaker, ay isang buhay na hindi na para sa aking sarili. Ito po, Speaker, ay isang buhay para mapagsilbihan ang ating mga mahihirap at inaaping mamamayan. Ito pong neck brace na ito, ang nagsisilbing paalala sa akin kung gaano kaliit ang pagitan ng buhay at kamatayan. We should always persevere to keep in mind that history repeats itself if we will do nothing to change it. I strongly believe that this Congress will brave great lengths of challenges in order to improve the lives of our Filipino citizens. Ako po ay namamanhik sa ating mga kinauukulan na ipatupad ng maayos ang ating mga batas, pangkaligtasan upang magsilbi itong matibay na pader na sasawata sa mga nagbabalak na sumaway sa mga reglamentong meron ito. Sabi nga ni Robert Frost, good fences make good neighbors. Tayo na nagmamaneho ng mga sasakyang pribado o pampubliko ay dapat matutong maging responsable sa ating paggamit ng kalsada upang hindi tayo makadulot ng perwisyo sa iba at makaiwas sa anumang sakuna o aksidente na makakitil ng buhay. I call, Mr. Speaker, for a much more responsible citizenry in order that lives can be eventually saved on a much safer road by faithfully adhering to the road safety laws. Nais ko rin pong kunin ang pagkakataong ito upang palalahanan ang ating mga law enforcement agencies na gawin ang kanilang mandato na ipatupad ito ng naaayon sa titik ng batas, parehas at walang kinikilingan. Sa pamamagitan ng representasyong ito, ako po ay magsisimulang bumalangkas ng mga batas na magpapataw ng parusa sa mga taong hindi magpapatupad nito. Ang buhay po ng bawat mamayang Pilipino, matanda man o bata, mahirap o mayaman, nag-aaral o hindi, lalaki, babae o LGBT ang nakataya sa araw-araw na pagdaan sa mga tawirang ito. Mr. Speaker, tungkulin po nating tiyakin na ang bawat isa sa kanila ay makakarating ng ligtas at walang sakuna o anumang aberya na masasalubong sa kanilang daraanan papunta at pabalik sa kanilang mga tahanan. Pakatandaan po natin na ang kaligtasan ng ating lansangan ay kaligtasan din ng ating buong sambayanan. With this personal accident and in relation to the passing of the bill on stiffer penalties to persons driving under the influence of alcohol, dangerous drugs, and similar substances, I personally seek for higher penalties for violators. Ako po ay sumusuporta sa panukalang batas ng ating kagalang-galang House Speaker Bebot Alvarez, Majority Floor Leader Manong Rudy Fareñas, Minority Floor Leader Danilo Suarez, Representatives Andaya, Duavit, Coangco, Co, Abu, Salimbangon, Batocabe, Bravo at Nograles. Payagan din po sana ninyo akong maging co-author ng House Bill number 5 na magdaragdag ng mas mataas na parusa at aamyenda sa RA 105-86 para po mapagdalawang isip at hindi magpadalos-dalos ang sinumang maaaring lumabag dito. Ang sabi nga ng batas, Jura lex sed lex. The law is harsh, but it is the law. Ang batas ay batas at wala pong sinuman ang makakahigit o nakakataas dito. Sapagkat ang ating lipunan ay isang lipunang pinapatakbo ng kapanginoonan ng batas. Nais ko din pong idagdag kung maari ay makapag-community service din ang mga individual na mapaparusahan ng ganitong gawain bilang pagpapakita ng paggalang sa ating komunidad na siyang unang naapektuhan sa kanilang pagiging pasaway sa pagmamaneho. I move that we amend the penalty to 6 months imprisonment, whichever is higher, or probationary 180 days of community service within 3 years, or whichever is higher, in the barangay of the aggrieved party, under the supervision of BJMP and the corresponding barangay officer. With the reported increase in number of accidents related to alcohol intoxication and drugs, indeed our government needs to strengthen its advocacy on road safety to lessen deaths attributed to drunk or drug driving. Mr. Speaker, I earnestly appeal to pursue this course of action together with the members of this august chamber to give support to this advocacy for the safety of our fellow countrymen. Nawa po ang aking mapait na karanasan ay magsilbing mitsa para sa maayos na implementasyon ng batas na ito. Matagal ko na pong napatawad ang bumangga sa akin, ngunit kip-kip ko pa din po ang dalangin na sana ay wala ng sinuman ang makaranas na magsuot ng neck brace na gaya nito, dulot ng irresponsableng pagmamaneho ng mga lasing o sabog ng droga sa ating mga lansangan. Patnubayan po tayo ng Panginoon, ora et labora. Maraming salamat po.
Distinguished Majority Leader,
Mr. Speaker, I move that we refer the privileged speech of the Honorable C. Alvarado to the Committee on Rules. So moved, Mr. Speaker.
any objection? The Chair, hearing none, the speech of the Honorable Alvarado is hereby directed to be referred to the Committee on Rules.
Mr.
Majority
Speaker, I
Leader.
move that we acknowledge some guests of the Makabayan Bloc, namely Salin Lahi Alliance for Children's Concerns, Children's Rehabilitation Center, Philippine Action for Youth Offenders, Association for the Rights of Children in Southeast Asia, Parents Alternative on Early Childhood Care and Development, Batibot Early Learning Center, Juvenile Justice and Welfare Council, and UNICEF. Mr. Speaker.
Please rise. Welcome to the House of Representatives.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we acknowledge, that we recognize the Honorable Representative from Party List Bayan Muna, Representative Carlos Isagani Sarate, for his privileged speech.
Any objection? The Chair, hearing none, the distinguished representative from the party list, ang bayan is hereby recognized.
Bayan muna, Mr. Speaker.
Bayan muna.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ginoong Speaker, mga kapwa-mambabatas, magandang hapon. Noong ika-26 ng Hulyo, inilabas ng Korte Suprema ang naging desisyon nito sa motion for reconsideration na inihain ng Bayan Muna at iba pang makabayang organisasyon at individual para sana ipabasura ang Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement or EDCA. Sa botong 10-4-1, tila naipako na ang EDCA, ang sa tingin kong pinakamasahol na di pantay na kasunduang pinasok ng nakaraang administrasyon, parang ito ay mananatili na at magiging dagdag na pundasyon sa tuloy-tuloy na panghihimasok ng gobyernong Amerika sa ating bansa. Subalit na isantabi man ang naging desisyon ng Korte Suprema ang kataksilan ng dating Presidente Noynoy Aquino sa konstitusyon ng ating bansa, hindi nito maitatago sa mamamayan ang katotohanan na sa loob ng 2 taon ay ginawang lihim ang negosasyon ng EDCA hanggang sa ito ay nilagdaan noong taong 2014 nang dumalaw sa bansa si Barack Obama. Maliban sa lihim na usapan o negosasyon sa EDCA, inalisan din ng poder ang Senado at ang mamamayan na mabusisi ang isang usaping napakahalaga, ang panunumbalik ng mga base militar ng Kano dito sa ating bansa. Ginoong Speaker, ang EDCA ay nagdudulot ng walang hanggang saklaw at akses sa ating bansa. Una sa lahat, ang EDCA ay malubhang lalabag sa soberenya at integridad ng teritoryo ng ating bansa. Sa ilalim ng EDCA, ang buong Pilipinas ay pwedeng maging pinakamalaking base militar ng Amerika sa buong mundo. Talagang mapanlinlang ang EDCA, Mr. Speaker. Sa halip na tawaging military bases, ay tinawag sa EDCA na agreed locations ang mga pasilidad na itatayo at ang mga pwepustuhang mga lugar ng Estados Unidos dito sa ating bansa. Sa unang basa, tila hindi magkakapareho ang tinatawag na agreed locations sa EDCA at military bases sa nabasurang 1991 Military Bases Agreement dahil ang kapangyarihan umano na magtukoy kung saang lugar ang sasakupin at gagamitin ng Estados Unidos ay nasa kamay naman ng Pilipinas. Ngunit, Ginoong Speaker, wala sa nilalaman ng EDCA ang paglilimita kung saan lamang maaring magtayo ng base ang mga Kano. Malala pa rito, unlimited, ang bilang ng mga lokasyon, ang laki ng mga sasakuping lugar ang bilang ng tropang maaring pumasok at kung ano ang maaring itayo at ipasok ng Amerika sa ating teritoryo. Bukod pa rito, laban din ng EDCA ay samut-saring mga probisyon para mas lalong humigpit ang pagsakal nito sa ating bayan. Mula sa pahintulot sa paggamit ng mga kalsada, paliparan at daungan, inuobliga pa ang Pilipinas na tayo mismo ang magpapadali ng kanilang paggamit ng mga infrastrukturang ito, pampubliko man o pribado. Sa makatuwid, walang habas din na binubukas ang buong Pilipinas bilang malawak na teritoryong maaring gamitin ng Amerika sang-ayon sa kanilang kasunduan. Ang EDCA ay panunumbalik ng base militar, Ginoong Speaker. Ang nakaambang panunumbalik ng mga base militar ng Amerika sa ating bansa ay parang isang panunumbalik din ng isang pambansang bangungot. Tila nabawi sa atin ang binunga ng pakikibaka ng mamamayan na tuluyang nagpalayas sa mga base militar ng Kano noong 1991. Ito na marahil, Ginoong Speaker, ang pinakamasahol na pagkatalo ng mamamayan sa naging desisyong ito ng ating kataas-taasang hukuman. Ayon sa EDCA, nabibigyan ng kapangyarihan ang tropang militar ng Kano na permanenteng manatili sa mga agreed locations sa batayang rotational. Walang binanggit ang EDCA na paglilinaw sa rotational presence. Ngunit makikita sa ilalim ng rotational development ng Visiting Forces Agreement, isa pang hindi pantay na kasunduang pinasok ng ating bansa. Ang VFA na ang pagpapalit lamang ng individual na mga U.S. personnel ang rotasyong ito habang nananatili ang permanenteng presensya ng tropang militar sa ating bansa. Halimbawa, Ginoong Speaker, sa Mindanao pa lamang, 600 U.S. Special Forces ang may permanenteng rotational na namamalagi simula pa noong 2002. Dagdag pa rito, ang mga balikatan exercises at iba't iba pang joint military operations ng US at Pilipinas sa iba't ibang panig ng ating bansa. Mas lalong malala pa, gagawin pa tayong malaking imbakan ng Amerika ng kanilang mga kagamitang pangdigma, maging armas nuklear at gawing lunsaran o launching pads ng kanilang gerang agresyon sa Asia-Pasipiko at buong daigdig. Sa kasaysayan, Ginoong Speaker, ng mga hindi pantay at mapang-alipin na kasunduang pinasok ng Pilipinas, lalong-lalo na sa usapin ng ugnayang panglabas, ang Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement na yata ang pinakamasahol. Isang napakalaking kabalintunaan na sa kabila ng walang habas na pagbubuyangyang ng Pilipinas sa kanyang teritoryo at rekorso, wala ni isang kusing na ibabayad sa renta o buwis ng Amerika dito sa EDCA. Sa katunayan, ang mga gastusing dapat na sinisingil sa Amerika ay papasanin pa ng mamamayang Pilipino. Unlimited na, libre pa. Libre at walang pakundangang isinusuko ang ating soberenya sa EDCA. Sa kabila ng ating ibinigay, isinuko at ibinuyangyang isang malaking delusyon na maniniwala na isangkala ng Amerika ang kanyang tropa at kanilang interes para tayo ay ipagtanggol laban sa pananakop at panghihimasok. Halimbawa na lamang, Ginoong Speaker, sa hidwaan natin at ng bansang China sa mga katubigang kanilang inagaw sa Pilipinas, inihayag mismo ng Presidente ng Amerika na si Barack Obama na wala silang balak ipahamak ang enormous trade and enormous business nila sa pagitan ng bansang China. Kaya naman, hanggang sa kasalukuyan, hindi kumikibo ang ating huwad na alyado sa ginagawang reklamasyon, pagbabakod, pagpasok ng mga barko at eroplanong pandigma, pagbabawal na pumalaot ang mga namamalakaya sa mga katubigan ng Pilipinas at iba pang mga pag-aalipusta ng bansang China sa ating teritorya at soberenya. Ni hindi man lang gumalaw o nagbuhat ng daliri ang Amerika para hadlangan at biguin ang pananakop na ito ng bansang China, gaya halimbawa ng nangyari sa Scarborough Shoal. Maling-mali, Ginoong Speaker, na iaasa natin sa dayuhang kapangyarihan ang pagtatanggol ng ating kasarinlan, teritoryo at exclusive economic zone. Tanga lamang ang maniniwala sa buladas ng Amerika na gigirahin nito ang China dahil sa Pilipinas. Uulitin po natin, hindi lang pinakamalaking trading partner ng Amerika ang bansang China, ito rin ang pinagkakautangan nito ng malaki na tinatayang aabot na sa $1.243 trillion nitong nakaraang Abril. Ang totoo, Ginoong Speaker, ang EDCA ay kasunduan ng amo at ng kanyang tuta at hindi ng dalawang magkapantay na bansa. Kaya ito ay malaking hamon sa administrasyon ni Pangulong Digong Duterte. Tulad ng ating kolektibong pagkakapuot sa tahasang pagyuyurak ng bansang China sa ating teritorial na integridad at pag-aangkin sa ating mga katubigan, ganitong galit din ang dapat nating maramdaman sa panghihimasok ng Amerika sa ating bansa. Habang tayo ay nagagalak sa pagkapanalo ng Pilipinas laban sa China sa Permanent Court of Arbitration, tayo ay may malaking hamon na igiit at depensahan muli ang ating soberanya sa pag-iral ng EDCA. Kaya naman, sa kabila ng pagkabigo na mapawalang bisa ang EDCA at panagutin ang mga sangkop nito sa Korte Suprema, ang Bayan Muna at iba pang makabayang organisasyon at mamamayan ay hindi natitinag sa aming posisyon na tuloy-tuloy na ikampanya ang pagbaklas ng kasunduang ito. Ang EDCA, uulitin po natin, Ginoong Speaker, ay tahasang pagyurak sa ating pambansang soberanya at maglalagay sa sambayanang Pilipino sa kapahamakan, kaya nararapat itong ibasura. Kaya naman sa pagpasok ng bagong administrasyon ni Pangulong Digong Duterte, nauna na nagsabi na kilalanin at ipatutupad lamang niya ang mga tratadong sang-ayon sa kapakanan ng mamamayan, isang malaking hamon ang kagyat na pagbabasura sa EDCA at iba pang di mga pantay na kasunduan. Na sa isang pambihirang pagkakataon ngayon, ang bagong pamahalaang Duterte na kumalas sa mapang-aliping relasyong panlabas na tinahak ng mga nakaraang administrasyon. Na sa isang pambihirang pagkakataon, ang pamahalaang Duterte na magbalangkas at lumikha ng patakarang panlabas na ang pangunahing isinasalang-alang ay ang kapakanan ng ating bansa at ng mamamayang Pilipino. Nasa isang mainam na posisyon ngayon si Pangulong Digong Duterte na lumikha ng isang malaya, nagsasarili, pantay at may mutual na pakinabangan sa bawat panig. Hindi ang maging kasangkapan at biktima ng agawan ng teritoryo at dominasyon ng dalawang nagbabanggaang malalaking bansa. Bilang pagtatapos, Ginoong Speaker, napakainam ng mga linyang ito mula sa pelikulang General Luna sa ating haharapin na hamon dahil sa EDCA. Sinabi po sa pelikula ng General Luna, alam ng mga Amerikano kung bakit natin ipinaglalaban ang ating kasarinlan dahil buong tapang at buong bangis rin nilang ipinaglaban ang sa kanila. Iba ba tayo sa kanila? Wala ba tayong karapatang mabuhay ng malaya? Isang malaking karangalan ang ipaglaban ang inang bayan. Huwag tayong magdalawang isip. Adelante, compatriotas, ang magtagumpay o mamatay. Salamat at magandang hapon po, Ginoong Speaker.
Distinguished Majority Leader,
Mr. Speaker, I move that we refer the privileged speech of the Honorable Zarate to the Committee on Rules.
any
moved, Mr.
objection?
Speaker.
The chair hearing none. The speech of the gentleman from ang Bayan Muna is referred to the Committee on Rules. Distinguished Majority Leader,
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize the representative from Diwa Party List, Representative Emeline Aglipay Villar for her privileged speech. So moved, Mr. Speaker.
Any objection? The chair, hearing none, the distinguished gentle lady from the party list ng Diwa is hereby recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We are a nation built on the backs of those who have the least. What prosperity our nation has achieved was wrung from the efforts of those with the least rights, the most vulnerable and invisible. Mr. Speaker, members of this House, good afternoon. Yesterday, I was at the oath-taking of appointees at Malacanang, and President Rodrigo Duterte spoke strongly against contractualization in order to protect the rights of workers on whose backs this nation was built. He said, "You do not help the people without security of tenure. Stop labor contractualization or I will close you down. Stop contractualization. It will do no good to our country." Today, as the representative of Diwa Party List, I join the President in his fight to end contractualization schemes that rob our workers of the rights we promised them under the Constitution and under the Labor Code. I am here to continue the fight against rampant exploitative contractualization, the 555 and end-of-contract or ENDO schemes that undermine the dignity of workers. 6 years ago, at the start of my first term as the representative of Diwa Party List, I made it my priority to end contractualization that is used as a means to circumvent the constitutionally enshrined right to security of tenure. I filed a bill in both the 15th and the 16th Congress to correct the loopholes in the Labor Code in order to put an end to this unconstitutional practice. But the farthest that it has gotten was to get approved at the committee level. It pains me that I must speak once more about contractualization and file for a third time a bill to address it, because it means that little has changed for the better. The guarantees of our Constitution to working men and women, the promise of security of tenure, remain woefully underfulfilled. I speak here of unwarranted contractualization, both labor-only contracting and clearly exploitative arrangements. I must note that there are instances and there are industries where fixed-term employment is necessary. In fact, in my proposed Security of Tenure Act, it lists more than 10 cases of legitimate fixed-term contractualization. But these are the exceptions and not the rule. And the rule, once more, is security. There is no security in a man being fired and rehired every 5 months so that he never becomes regularized. There is no security when a corporation in the retail industry treats their salespersons as non-essential. This is not flexibility of employment. It is a ridiculous sleight of hand, a legal terminology used as a smokescreen to validate injustice. This is an injustice that has afflicted our labor force for far too long. Contractual employees frequently perform tasks that are just as essential to the business as regular employees, but they do not receive the benefits that the regular employees are entitled to. Many of these benefits are monetary and can be essential to transforming the compensation received by regular employees into a living wage, like SSS and PhilHealth benefits, separation pay, and even the possibility of promotion and upward mobility. Other benefits to regularization are safeguards necessary to protect the worker, the right to collective bargaining, for instance, or the right to be terminated only for the causes and via the procedure found in the Labor Code, or else be entitled to reinstatement and back wages, among others. The necessity of regular employment of the Filipino family cannot be overemphasized. It is regular employment that guarantees that if you do your job well, and as long as that job is there, you have a claim to it. Without such guarantee, how can a Filipino be expected to plan for the future, to prepare for marriage or children, or for his retirement, when his or her income is so frequently, so regularly put at risk? Regardless of the diligence or excellence of the worker, even regular employees face constant challenges to their tenure. A lion's share of labor cases filed allege illegal dismissal. how much worse is it for those who don't even have the basic protections of the labor code? None of this is meant to impute malice to any party. A business is, as many employers have taken pains to point out, not a charity. A business is primarily created to make a profit for those who own it. Hence, it is only natural for a business to find means to maximize the potential profit within a given legal framework by taking advantage of legal loopholes and ambiguities. The duty to find an ethical and profitable equilibrium between the rights of employers and employees lies within the state. That equilibrium must be one that is grounded in the Constitution. And the Constitution is clear. Workers are entitled to security of tenure, humane conditions of work, and a living wage. Security of tenure is guaranteed by our basic law, but its implementation has left much to be desired. Statutes and regulations, while at times motivated by the best of intentions, have created ambiguities that have been and continue to be exploited as methods to legally deny regularization to workers who otherwise would deserve it. Under the Labor Code, a regular employee performs work that is necessary or desirable to the business of the employer. This is a broad, inclusive characterization, and it is textually intended to be so. But it has been steadily whittled down to almost nothing in practical terms, where a factory essential to a business can be legally, if not morally, run by a workforce where only 35% are regular employees. Then we have spit upon the spirit of the Labor Code. In some industries, contractualization has become the rule and not the exception. According to the 2014 Integrated Survey on Labor and Employment, there are more than 1.3 million non-regular workers in our labor force. In industries such as manufacturing, accommodation, and food services, more than a third of their labor force are not regular employees. At present, there are three forms of exploitative contractualization that demand redress: labor-only contracting, fixed-term employment, and the abuse of the probationary status of workers. Job contracting is not labor-only contracting, or at least it shouldn't be. According to DO number 18-A, in job contracting, a principal agrees to put out or farm out with a contractor the performance or completion of a specific job, work, or service within a definite or predetermined period, regardless of whether such job, work, or service is to be performed or completed within or outside the premises of the principal. The DO also defines as illegal labor-only contracting where the purported contractor does not have substantial capital or investments or does not exercise the right to control over the performance of the work of the employee. Labor-only contracting is clearly prohibited. Of the three types of exploitative contractualization, labor-only contracting is the one explicitly prohibited by law. And yet, labor-only contracting is everywhere. In a 2014 report by the Institute of Labor Studies, more than 60% of the contractual workers polled were supervised by an employee of the principal and not the contractor. And a similar percentage was assigned tasks directed by the principal and not the agency. In short, the right to control was lodged with the principal in 60% of the cases, a telling indication of the essential nature of the jobs performed. This means that instances of legitimate job contracting took place less than half of the time. I said earlier that job contracting is not labor-only contracting, but as it turns out, more often than not, it is. This is unacceptable. It is unjust. The second form of contractualization is fixed-term employment. This is where the end of contract or endo scheme comes into play. Under this scheme, the employer binds the employee to a contract of employment for less than 6 months, which is the point in time whereby an employee is deemed regularized, after which they are terminated at the end of their contract. Then they are either made to wait for some time and rehired, or they are passed on to a different employer, again for another period of less than 6 months. The second employer sends them to perform the same work from the original principal, but without the benefit of their previous service, and so on in an unending cycle made precisely to circumvent a worker's right to security of tenure. Yes, there are types of work where a fixed term is fair, but in many cases, this practice is nothing but the worst sort of opportunism, a betrayal of the promises of the law. For when our law mandated automatic regularization at 6 months, what it sought to provide was a means of acknowledging the worker, to make it clear that if your services have been in demand for 6 months, the service you provide is necessary to your employer, and your employer must in turn give you the security you are due. It was never meant to allow employers to strip the dignity of workers away, to reverse that promise of security by the mathematical expedient of terminating the employee before the 6-month period comes to pass. Unwarranted fixed-term employment undermines the purpose of the very provision it hides behind for legitimacy. It takes what the worker is entitled to, which is security and dignity, and turns it into an impossible dream, a constantly moved goalpost meant as nothing more than a lure. This is unacceptable. It is unjust. The third form of exploitative contractualization is through the abuse of the probationary employment mechanism. Probationary employment in itself is a necessary and important way for employers and employees alike to gauge, respectively, competence and fit before making their working arrangement permanent. It is an acknowledgement of the benefits of a trial period and of the fact that certain characteristics and qualifications may only be observed through actual work as opposed to being read on paper. But the probationary period only achieves these goals if entered into in good faith. If employers are legitimately assessing qualifications and not merely counting down the days they have before an employee must be regularized. But again and again, I have spoken to workers, to DIWA members, and they have told me of companies where probationary workers are cycled in and out as disposable labor, few to none making the cut before an entire batch is terminated to make room for a fresh set of probationary workers with another 6 months of tenure-free labor to offer. What is meant to be a testing and training period turns out into nothing more than a revolving door for cheap, expendable labor. This is unacceptable. It is unjust. As legislators, we must seek the statutory defect which allows these injustices to persist, which creates the environment that allows them to thrive. Clearly, the fact that contractualization has remained a concern for employees for more than a decade shows that the current legal framework is inadequate at dealing with the issue. I am happy that contractualization was an issue brought up during the last election, with our President declaring several times that he is against the practice of endo and wishes to see the end of it during his term. In order to do this, the legal framework must change. We must first establish that regular employment is the rule, and jobs that are necessary to the core business of the employer may not be contracted out. Second, we must limit fixed-term contracts or automatic termination to instances determined by law and further defined by department order. Third, we must make invalid the termination of probationary employees when done to prevent the acquisition of security of tenure. Fourth, we must create a rebuttable presumption that the termination of a probationary employee was invalid if made under suspicious circumstances, when all or substantially all of probationary employees are terminated in favor of a new set of probationary employees, and when there is a disproportionately high number of probationary employees in a workforce. I make these proposals not from a position that is antagonistic to the concern of employers. I'm aware of the need for a certain level of flexibility in the tenure of our workers, and that certain industries and certain types of work require arrangements that are different from traditionally practiced regular employment. This is why I do not intend to do away with fixed-term employment or to job contracting, but I want to clarify which jobs may be legitimately contracted out and which ones should be done by regular workers. Activities that are necessary to the core business of the employer may not be contracted out unless clear exception has been made into law. Clear definitions will bring stability to the relationship between employers and employees and help prevent law-abiding businesses from being undercut by the quasi-legitimate employment practices of those that would exploit labor. A worker with security of tenure costs more because that worker is an investment and because that worker is invested in his or her work. What incentive does an employee have when they know that they will be released after 5 months, regardless of their performance? A worker with security of tenure can plan for the future, make investments of his or her own in himself or herself, in family, in the education and health of his or her children, and those children in turn will go further than their parents, do things their parents could only dream of. To build that kind of nation, it is not enough for workers to simply be employed. They must be employed in a manner that allows them to reasonably depend on the continuity of that employment. What the Constitution promises, what we promise when we swear to serve it, is full protection, not protection when convenient, not protection when affordable. To do nothing in the face of the plight of our workers is to say that we can do no better, that this is the best we can do. An environment where hard work guarantees nothing, where good work rewards you with nothing, where we ask more than 1 million of our countrymen to be satisfied that they simply have a job today, even if the law does nothing to ensure that they will still keep having that job tomorrow. The effects of contractualization are complex, and creating a better legal framework will take time and input from many sources. I am willing to listen. I am willing to learn. But we must act now. Act for those who are not in a position to create the changes they seek. We are a nation built on the backs of those who have the least. When we uplift them, all of us rise. If we secure their jobs, we secure their future. We secure our own. Thank you.
Distinguished Majority Leader,
Mr. Speaker, I move that we refer the privileged speech of the Honorable Aglipay Villar to the Committee on Rules.
any objection? The chair hearing none. The speech of the distinguished gentle lady from the party list ng Diwa is referred to the Committee on Rules. Distinguished Majority Leader,
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize the distinguished representative from the party list Gabriela, Representative Emmy De Jesus, for her privileged speech.
any objection? The chair hearing none. The distinguished gentle lady from the party list, Gabriela, is hereby recognized.
Magandang gabi po, Ginoong Speaker, at ikinagagalak ng representasyong ito na muling magbigay ng katumbas na State of the Women sa Ebalangkas ng pagkilala sa bagong pamahalaan sa ilalim ni Presidente Digong Duterte. Isang katotohanan na ang kalagayan ng kababaihan ay sumasalamin sa tunay na State of the Nation. Sa nakalipas na mga taon, sa panunungkulan ng mga dating gobyerno na pumapabor sa interes ng mga dayuhan at lokal na malalaking negosyante, dumanas ang ating kababaihan ng iba yung hagupit mula sa mga patong-patong na programang pang-ekonomiya, pang-politika, pang-kultura na anti-mamamayan at anti-kababaihan. Naging saksi tayo sa kakarampot na 300 pesos na pasahod sa babaeng contract worker. Mas marami ang kababaihang walang trabaho at hindi mapagkasya sa araw-araw na gastusin ang kaunting kita mula sa kung ano-anong gawain tulad ng pagtitinda o pamumulot ng kalakal. Sa mga sentrong lungsod, naging buong patakaran ang walang habas na demolisyon, na kulang o walang relokasyon. Walang programang pangkabuhayan at serbisyo para sa mga pamilyang nilipat sa maraming relocation centers. Sa kabila ng ipinagmamalaki ng nakaraang gobyerno na nakamit na ng Pilipinas ang solid growth at sound economic fundamentals, maliwanag na ang state of the women ngayon ay isang larawan ng state of crisis pa rin. Ginoong Speaker, matingkad na batayan ng kapayapaan ay pagkakapantay-pantay sa kabuhayan, karapatan at katarungan. Walang kapayapaan kung ang kababaihan ay nabubuhay sa araw-araw na pakikidigma sa kagutuman, sakit at kawalan ng serbisyo. To quote ang sinabi ni Pangulong Duterte sa kanyang SONA, "There can never be real, tangible, and felt development without making our people feel secure. And it is our duty to uplift our people's welfare." Sa bahagi po ng Gabriela Women's Party, ang mga lider kababaihan mula sa iba't ibang sektor ay aming hiningian ng konsultasyon at noong June 24, nagbuo kami ng Women's Summit na ginanap sa Davao. Ito ay nagluwal ng isang komprehensibong agenda para sa kababaihan na ipinakete namin sa salitang change. Ang mga titik sa change ay binubuo ng mga sumusunod. Ang unang titik na C ay para sa comprehensive social services. Ito ang kahilingan ng kababaihan na mabawi ang patakarang privatization, liberalization at deregulation na siyang ugat ng pagkawala ng libreng batayang serbisyo para sa maralita. At dahil na rin sa patuloy na patakaran ng Department of Health ng privatisasyon ng serbisyong medikal, halos hindi na nagpapagamot sa ospital ang mga may sakit na maralita, lalo na ang mga bata, mga buntis, mga senior citizen. Dahil sa deregulasyon, dumoble na ang singil sa tubig at kuryente ng mga serbisyo na ibinenta na sa mga dayuhang korporasyon. Dapat magarantiyahan na abot kaya na ng maralitang kababaihan ang tubig, kuryente, pagpapagamot at transportasyon. Mainam na pasimula ang puntong ito sa State of the Nation. To strengthen the delivery of social services, the government will intensify its protection programs so it can use its resources, expertise to make a dent in the country's poverty levels. What we want is genuinely to reduce the vulnerabilities of our people, build resiliency, and empower individuals and families and communities. Panahon na para irepaso ang mga programang pantawid at itakda kung totoo nga bang nakatawid na mula sa karukhaan ang maralita sa kabila ng bilyon-bilyong pondo na dapat sana ay wastong nagamit sa iba pang programa. Human rights and social justice ang pangalawang titik ng change. Kailangan mabigyan ng katarungan ng mga kababaihan at mamamayan na nagdusa sa mga malupit na programang kontra-insureksyon na Uplan Bantaylaya at Uplan Bayanihan. Sa muling pagbubukas ng negosasyong pangkapayapaan ng gobyerno at ng National Democratic Front, dapat nang pabilisin ang pagpapalaman ng Comprehensive Agreement on Social and Economic Reforms at tiyakin na marami at malaman ang mabubuo mga probisyon para sa kababaihan at bata. Kaakibat nito ang pagpapalaya sa mga detenidong politikal at ang higit sa lahat, ang pagpapatuloy, lalo na yung mga kasama sa peace negotiation. Mayroon pa rin tayong 35 kababaihan, mga batang ina, katulad ni Miradel Torres, isang matandang babae katulad ni Moreta Alegre, Concha Araneta, na tinatala namin na dapat sana ay palayain na. Ang titik naman ay para sa anti-diskriminasyon, anti-violence against women and children. Sabi nga sa SONA ng Pangulong Duterte, dapat ang lahat ng ahensya ay i-implement ang Magna Carta of Women. By doing so, we'll ensure that man and woman will be partners in the pursuit of country's economic, social, and cultural and political developments. Dahil ang Kongreso ay isa ring oversight body, kailangan natin pahigpitin ang pagpapatupad ng Magna Carta of Women. Noong ika-16 na Kongreso, ilang ulit ding naghain ng mga resolusyon ang aming partido para sa pagrepaso ng mga katuparan, program targets, indicators, at pondo sa mga programa ng lahat ng ahensya at sangay ng pamahalaan. Ngunit mukhang kapos at hindi pa nalulubos ang pagbibigay ng pansin dito. Isang paalala sa dalawang kamara ng ating batasan na paulit-ulit ding nabibitin ang mga bills na dapat sana ay nagbibigay na ng pantay na karapatan sa mga kababaihan. Matitiyak lamang ang mga panukalang programa ng administrasyon sa pagpapalakas ng protection programs, education, energy, patubig at agrikultura kung ipagtatanggol ang ating economic sovereignty at ang dalawang titik ng change, ang national sovereignty at genuine agrarian reform na magkaugnay ay dapat tiyakin. Matitiyak ang sapat at murang pagkain kung maisasabatas ang tunay na reformang agraryo at itatatag ang makabansang programa sa pagsasaka na pangunahing agenda ay food security at paglikha ng hilaw na material para sa lokal na industriya. Ang pagbibigay ng regular na trabahong may sapat na sahod at benepisyo ay nakabatay pangunahin sa pambansang industriya na lilikha ng mas marami pa ring industriya. Tiyakin natin na bigyan ng proteksyon ang lokal na kapital laban sa panghihimasok ng dayuhang imports para buhayin muli ang ating manufaktura, katulad ng industriya ng pagsasapatos sa Marikina. At ipawalang bisa ang mga hindi pantay na kasunduan ng bansa sa Asian Free Trade Agreement, WTO at iba pa. Huwag nating pahintulutan na maging bahagi ang Philippine States sa Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement at iba pang panukalang amyenda na lalong magpapairal ng neoliberal na relasyon ng Pilipinas sa mga higit na makapangyarihang bansa. Ang huling titik, ang titik is a change, environmental protection. Dagdag sa pagkakansila ng mga permit sa mapanirang mining firms, dapat ding tiyakin ng administrasyon na ipahinto ang mga mapaminsalang infrastructure at ecotourism projects na nagreresulta lamang ng pagpapalayas ng mga magsasaka at maralita sa kanilang lupaing ninuno at pangisdaan. Malaking ginhawa sa mga pamilya ng mga katutubo ang pagbasura sa Mining Act of 1995. Kung mapapalitan ito ng makabansang batas na magtitiyak ng pambansang patrimonya at pangangalaga sa karapatan ng katutubo at maralita. Mandato ng mga botante sa nangungunang tunay na partido ng kababaihan sa batasan na isulong ang agenda ng kababaihan at mamamayan sa loob at labas ng Kongreso. Hamon sa ating panawagan na labanan ng abuso, mahigit naming tatanggapin ang hamon na ito na makisangkot sa agenda ng tunay na pagbabago. Patuloy din ang paghamon at paghimok sa ating bagong luklok na pamahalaan at sa mga progresibo at makabayang seksyon ng kanyang gobyerno na laging kumonsulta at makinig sa tinig ng mamamayan. Ang talumpating ito ay may vision na sana ang mga susunod na State of the Nation, lalong-lalo na sa darating ng paglalahad ng State of the Women Address, madadagdagan pa ang mga pakinabang ng kababaihan, bata at bayan sa usapin ng paglaya mula sa pakikialam ng mga dayuhan, korupsyon, paghahari ng iilan. Sama-sama tayo hindi lamang sa pag-usal o pagsigaw ng slogan na change is coming. Dapat din nating ipatupad ang mga deliverables sa ating nasasakupan. Magandang gabi sa ating lahat.
Distinguished Majority Leader,
Mr. Speaker, I move that we refer the privileged speech of the Honorable De Jesus to the Committee on Rules.
any objection? The chair hearing none. The speech of the gentle lady from the party list, Gabriela, is referred to the Committee on Rules. Distinguished Majority Leader,
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize the representative of the party list Gabriela, Representative Arlene D. Brosas, for her privileged speech.
Any objection? The chair hearing none. The representative, the gentle lady from the party list, Gabriela, is hereby recognized.
Good evening, Mr. Speaker. Good evening, my dear colleagues. I rise today on a question of personal and collective privilege. I raise my concern along with mothers from the poorest communities. Mr. Speaker, I am a child rights advocate who has spent years of my life in poor communities where mothers can barely send their children to school or even give them decent meals 3 times a day. A profile of an average youth offender would show a child who has not finished or attended school, who come from low-income, even destitute families with parents, who do not have regular employment or the means to properly care for their children. A survey conducted towards the end of 2015 revealed that more than 2.6 million families have experienced involuntary hunger. If each family experiencing such hunger has at least 3 children, this would translate to 7.8 million hungry Filipino children. It is thus not surprising that the National Nutrition Council has placed the number of malnourished children at 4 million, with 3.4 million stunted children and at least 300,000 categorized as wasted or severely malnourished. The number of out-of-school Filipino children is estimated at 4 million. Salin Lahi Alliance for Children's Concerns reports that with the implementation of K-12, this number is expected to soar. Forced to help their parents find meager resources to buy even just a kilo of rice, more than 5.5 million Filipino are victims of child labor. Children are forced to work in factories, plantations, haciendas, and mines. Worse, children are becoming involved in petty crimes, including drug peddling and prostitution. In fact, the Philippine National Police has reported an increase in the number of children forced into cyber pornography and prostitution from 87 in 2014 to 136 in 2015. Many of these youth offenders are children left to cope on their own amid a harsh, even heartless environment where dog eats dog. They walk among thieves, drug traffickers, and syndicates who teach them that there is no other way to survive, and they are forced to toughen up or be eaten alive. Who teaches them otherwise? Sa aking palagay, maling-mali na ituring ang isang batang 9 na taong gulang na nasa lubos at wastong kakayahang mag-isip at mapag-iba ang tama sa mali at sa makatwid ay marapat na mabigyan ng kaparusahang tulad ng ipinapataw sa mga higit na nakatatanda. Mr. Speaker, ang batang 9 na taong gulang na mapalad na makapag-aral ay nasa 3 baitang lamang sa elementarya. Nais ko pong sabihin na ang panukalang ilagay sa 9 na taon ng edad na pananagutan ng batang nagkasala sa batas ay walang malinaw na pagtatangi ni pagkilala o kahit katiting na konsiderasyon sa kalagayan ng nakararaming mga bata na nagkakasala sa batas o mga children in conflict with the law. Sadya nga bang maituturing na pagkakasala lamang ng mismong bata kung sila man ay lumabag sa batas, magnakaw, maging tagahatid ng ipinagbabawal na droga, o sa pinakamalala pa ay makapatay sa edad na 9 na taong gulang? It may be easy for many among us in this chamber to say that these children should be in school. Yet we overlook the fact that education is never free. Even in public schools, education is costly, and it is not something that can be accessed by 100% of our school-age children and their families. It may also be easy for many among us in this chamber to say that young recidivists juvenile offenders with repeated offenses are proof that the system of having social workers, welfare officers, and institutions attend to youth offenders have failed. It may also be easy for many among us in this chamber to look at youth offenders and say that this early in their lifetime, they have lost all hope of leading productive and fruitful adult lives. Huwag naman po sana, at nakakalungkot naman, ang mga batang nagkakasala at lumalabag sa batas ay dapat nating ituring na mga biktima at hindi mga kriminal. Mr. Speaker, fellow legislators, allow me to cite an earlier position by the Psychological Association of the Philippines on proposals to lower the minimum age of criminal responsibility. And so I quote, the developmental immaturity of juveniles mitigates their criminal culpability. Although they may be able to discern right from wrong action, it is their capability to act in ways consistent with that knowledge that is compromised by several factors at this stage, which includes, number 1, deficiencies in decision-making capacities. Number 2, heightened vulnerability to coercive circumstances. Number 3, the disadvantaged environment and profile of the Filipino child in conflict with the law. The position paper further states, research indicates that most youth abandon antisocial behavior at the time that they exit adolescence, and that only a minority persists in criminal behavior as a function of pervasive neurological and environmental risk factors. In fact, exposure to the criminal justice system, where the child will be labeled a criminal and where he or she is exposed to criminal models, will more likely establish the criminal identity of the young person. Salinlahi Alliance for Children Concerns and the Philippine Action for Youth Offenders echoes this concern. Allow me to also quote from their position paper, which states, lowering the age of criminal responsibility will result in negative consequences for children and the public. It will increase the number of children detained for long periods of time, making them more likely to become hardened offenders. Detention may also increase the likelihood that young people will recidivate, compromising public safety. Incarcerating children goes against established principles of proportionality and fair treatment, and contradicts the best interest of the child and the rights of the children to maximum survival and development. Mr. Speaker, colleagues, by treating youth offenders as criminals, by incarcerating them and allowing the society and the environment to label them as such, we are almost sealing their fate, that of spending the rest of their adult life as a criminal. I could not agree more with the Speaker of the House and the President himself that indeed the increased involvement of the youth in criminal activities is cause for alarm. However, in proposing to lower the age of criminal responsibility, we may be making the situation worse and creating a far bleaker and darker future for the generations to come. The Philippines is signatory to the United Nations Convention of the Rights of the Child. We have long inked our commitment to undertake all appropriate measures towards the protection of children and the implementation of the rights enshrined in the UNCRC, to the extent of all available resources. It is our commitment to take into consideration with every step the best interest of the Filipino child. Thus, let us all take a look at the bigger picture and address the roots of the problem at hand. Let the 17th Congress be a catalyst towards ensuring that children have access to basic social services, that children and their families do not go hungry, that their parents have regular jobs with living wages, that we attain 100% enrollment of all school-age children in this country. Iminumungkahi ng Gabriela Women's Party na bigyang pansin natin ang lubusang implementasyon ng Juvenile Justice and Welfare Act. Una nang nakita ang kakapusan sa implementasyon nito noong nakaraang maamyendehan nito noong ika-15 na Kongreso. Hindi na binago ang minimum age of criminal responsibility sapagkat nakitang kapos sa implementasyon sa usapin ng pagbibigay ng restorative at rehabilitative justice. Kung papansinin po natin at malalim natin itong pag-aaralan, makikita nating hindi pa ito maayos at lubos na naipapatupad ang Juvenile Justice and Welfare Act. Ilan nga ba sa ating mga barangay sa buong bansa ang may Barangay Council for the Protection and Welfare of Children na aktibong kumikilos at nag-iimplementa ng batas? Sa hanay ng ating mga kapulisan, mga opisyal at volunteer sa barangay, ilan ang nakagagagap ng kanilang tungkulin sa ilalim ng Juvenile Justice and Welfare Act at may sapat na kaalaman sa wastong pamamaraan ng pagtugon sa mga kaso ng mga batang nasasangkot sa krimen. Maganda ring masilip natin ilan nga ba ang pasilidad ng Department of Social Welfare and Development na nakahandang tumugon sa pagpapanibagong hubog ng mga kabataang nasasangkot sa krimen. At gaano na ba kalaki ang kapasidad nito? May sapat ba tayong bilang ng mga social workers para tumugon? Dati nang kinilala ang pangangailangan para sa karagdagang pasilidad, mga bahay pag-asa, subalit datos mula sa Department of Social Welfare and Development, aabot lamang sa 5 sa kabuuang 46 na pasilidad para sa mga batang nasasangkot sa krimen o mga tinaguriang children in conflict with the law. May karagdagang 11 pang pasilidad, 11, na pinatatakbo ng iba't ibang lokal na pamahalaan. Kapos na kapos ito sa gitna ng nakababahalang mga datos ng paparaming mga batang nasasangkot sa krimen. I enjoin all of you into calling for a probe in the implementation of the Juvenile Justice and Welfare Act, and I enjoin the 17th Congress to muster all resources to help strengthen our capacity to respond to the problem of youth offenders by establishing more halfway homes and empowering our social workers on the ground. Mr. Speaker, fellow legislators, let us look into how well we, the government, have responded or not responded on the growing problem of youth offenders before putting the blame on children themselves. Children who are victims and definitely not criminals.
Distinguished Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we refer the privileged speech of the Honorable Brosas to the Committee on Rules.
Any objection? The chair hearing none. The speech of the gentle lady from the party list, Gabriela, is referred to the Committee on Rules. Distinguished Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize the representative of Akbayan Party List, Congressman Tom Villarin, for his privileged speech.
Any objection? The chair hearing none. Distinguished representative from the party list Akbayan is hereby recognized.
Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen, last week, President Rodrigo Duterte was quoted by media to have said that he will abolish the party list system of representation in Congress. Later, the Speaker himself was again quoted by media to have supported the position of President Duterte. We hope that the good Speaker can enlighten us on his position. Mr. Speaker, the party list system in the Philippines constitutes one of the major political and electoral reforms introduced after the ouster of the Marcos dictatorship and enshrined in our 1987 Constitution. It was the best hope to transform our traditional politics into one with more programmatic parties, more responsive and proactive to the needs and issues of the majority of the people. The framers of our Constitution wanted our electoral democracy to be an improvement of the past. It provided for a multi-party system over a two-party system so as to encourage that 100 flowers bloom and 1,000 thoughts contend, while eventually opting to have a majoritarian electoral system or a plurality of votes in a first-past-the-post elections for local and national posts. It also adopted the party list system of proportional representation. This in itself is a unique combination of a majoritarian and a proportional system of elections. As such, the PL system is provided under Section 5, Article 6 of the 1987 Constitution, and I quote, "A party list system of registered national, regional, and sectoral parties or organizations, whose representatives shall constitute 20% of the total number of representatives, including those under the party list. Sectors include labor, peasant, urban poor, indigenous cultural communities, women, youth, and such other sectors as may be provided by law, except the religious sector." The Constitution allows Congress to define the process of seat allocation of the party list system through law. Thus, Congress enacted Republic Act 7941 or the Party List System Act of 1995. And we have here our distinguished colleague, Honorable Edsel Lagman of the District of Albay, who is one of the major authors of the party list system. But later, Mr. Speaker, the Supreme Court, in the so-called Banat case, provided an interpretation of the law with four major features, to wit. One, it provides for a full 20% allocation for party list from the total numbers of seats in the House of Representatives. Second, it provides for a 2% threshold to qualify for the first seat or the so-called guaranteed seat. Fourth, it provides for a 3-seat cap or limit for each qualified party regardless of the number of votes it obtained, thus remaining a valid statutory device that prevents any party from dominating the party list elections. And fourthly, the system of proportional representation in allocating additional seats, which a qualified party is entitled to, thus effectively doing away with the 2% requirement for the additional seats as being unconstitutional. Mr. Speaker, where majoritarian systems emphasize governability, proportional systems focus on the inclusion of minority voices. Advocates of proportional system argue that other considerations are more important, such as fairness of the outcome for minor parties who are sidelined by the traditionally dominant parties, the need for checks and balances, and the representation of minority social groups. Therefore, debates about electoral reform have often produced conflict about the means, that is, what would be the effects of the party's electoral chances in such a system, but even more fundamentally about the ends, that is, what will be the primary objective of an electoral system if there is a majoritarian system and a proportional representation system. Mr. Speaker, ideally, proportional systems like the party list can promote a process of conciliation and coalition building within government. Party list groups reflect the main divisions in the social composition of the electorate, so that all citizens have a voice and vote in the legislature. In this view, majoritarian systems are like a winner-takes-all contest that over-reward the winner, producing an elected dictatorship where the government can implement its programs without the need for consultation and compromise with other parties in parliament. Without programmatic political parties and strong political institutions, Mr. Speaker, the reward system is overly centralized to whoever occupies the top executive position in government. The proportionality principle is an essential requirement in the party list system. It is considered by the Supreme Court as an inviolable parameter for having the system of representation. I dare say, Mr. Speaker, that there is much to be desired upon which the principle is being applied in recent elections. Clearly, there is a need to revisit the formula in allocating seats on the principle of proportionality. On the issue of sectoral representation, Mr. Speaker, our Constitution identifies the sectors that need representation, namely the workers, farmers, indigenous cultural communities, women, youth, among others. And it is the avowed state policy that these sectoral organizations that promote the welfare of the nation can participate in governance and decision-making. But the basic question, Mr. Speaker, is who can represent these marginalized and underrepresented sectors? On this matter, Mr. Speaker, the Supreme Court, in a recent decision in 2013 in the Atong Paglaom case, stated that any Pedro, Maria, Juan, or Jose can be their representative on the basis of one's advocacy for the sectors. In the Atong Paglaom case, Mr. Speaker, it stated that sectoral parties can have two groups, two kinds of party list representatives. One, the marginalized and underrepresented sectors, and second, those lacking a well-defined political constituency. But clearly, Mr. Speaker, this interpretation of the Supreme Court is not found in our existing party list law. But ultimately, Mr. Speaker, in an election, it is the voter who has the power to choose. With more than 100 party list groups vying for one single vote, the voter then has the right to be informed enough, to be knowledgeable enough, and discerning enough what party list group to choose. So you might ask, Mr. Speaker, why am I saying all this? Well, the President sees a problem within a system, but that does not mean that the system as a whole is the problem. Neither does it follow that abolishing an entire system of representation will solve the problem. Doing so means doing away with the gains of the EDSA people power revolution. It will set back the hands of time, negate the people's struggle against the Marcos dictatorship, and send a warning signal to those who believe in defending democracy and fighting inequality. Who can represent the marginalized and underrepresented sectors? I think this is the bone of contention by which President Rodrigo Duterte has spoken. And this is the problem before us. Then by all means, Mr. Speaker, let us fix it. Notwithstanding The facts remain. One, party lists are where the basic sectors can actively participate. Party lists give life to the social justice provisions embedded in our Constitution by fleshing them into law. Party list groups provide the hope to transform our traditional politics into one that is programmatic, responsive, and transparent. The issue on the party list being raised now is not about its essence, but how it is being practiced. Unfortunately, there is a big difference between its intrinsic nature and the political realities of elections. Mr. Speaker, imperfect as the party list system is, has the nation and have our people benefited from it? My answer, Mr. Speaker, is a resounding yes. Of the bills and resolutions filed that are of national in scope, most of them came from the party list groups who have nationwide and sectoral constituencies. We have laws that provided for sectoral representation in national government, like the SRA, Irrigation Administration, NEDA, Land Bank. The party list groups likewise actively supported the passage of the Clean Air Act that strengthened environmental laws and regulations. We struggled to have passed the Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Law extension with reforms for our landless farmers. The Reproductive Health Law was a collaborative effort that involved primarily party list groups that even defended the law up to the Supreme Court. It was also through the efforts of party list groups that made voting by overseas Filipinos possible. Recently, we passed the Philippine Competition Commission law that provides oversight over monopolistic tendencies of corporations that affect ordinary consumers. Party list groups are likewise very active in sectoral advocacies for workers, farmers, fisherfolk, women, overseas Filipino workers, indigenous peoples, and even pushing for an anti-discrimination bill. Mr. Speaker, party list groups have even dared venture to seek representation in the Senate. Now, Mr. Speaker, after several tries, we now have 2 senators who come from the ranks of party list groups. Over the years, we have seen the rise of new party list groups and the rise of the threshold needed to get in the winning circle. It has also become increasingly costly to campaign in the party list as one has to reach a bigger audience and constituency. Thus, what is needed is for Congress to look into the merits of enacting a comprehensive campaign finance law. Experience worldwide suggests that regulation of party funding can be effective if well designed and implemented by effective sanctions and accompanied by institution of appropriate ethics and norms. How our party list system could evolve over the next years would spur interesting insights and development in our democratic system of governance. After 7 party list elections, with COMELEC making its own rules and interpretation, as well as with various Supreme Court pronouncements on the party list, it is clear and very crucial that we amend RA 7941 or the Party List System Act. Mr. Speaker, with all due respect to the President, sa atong dakong pagtahod kay Presidente Duterte, to abolish the party list system is simply out of the question. But it is imperative for any individual who inspires and aspires for true change, a change that comes from within, to institute reforms that will improve the representation of the most vulnerable sectors of our nation. And I think, Mr. Speaker, the party list groups represented here in this August chamber is one with me in saying, let's fix and improve on the party list law. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Distinguished Majority Leader,
Mr. Speaker,
Mr. Speaker,
Mr. Speaker,
the distinguished Congressman Edsel Lacman is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, may I just refer the privilege, with the indulgence of the Honorable Lagman, may I just refer the privileged speech of the Honorable Tom Villarin to the Committee on Rules.
before
So
we
moved,
do that,
Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, the interpellation is part of the speech, so the referral should be after the interpellation.
I withdraw my motion, Mr. Speaker.
We will ask the distinguished Majority Leader, Congressman Lacman, to file the necessary motion for the interpellation.
Am I recognized, Mr. Speaker?
Mr.
Distinguished
Speaker,
Majority Leader,
Mr. Speaker, Your Honor, we move for the recognition of the Honorable Edsel Lagman for his interpellation of our colleague. So move, Mr. Speaker, Your Honor.
upon motion of the distinguished Majority Leader, the distinguished Congressman Edsel Lacman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the distinguished gentleman from to oppose the President's announcement that he would like the party list system to be abolished. Later, I said that the party list system should not be consigned to the killing fields, so to speak. But the party list system should be strengthened, and perfecting amendments should be introduced to the party list law in order that we could really put premium to the original concept that the marginalized and underrepresented sectors should be able to participate in the exercise of political power through representation in the House of Representatives. If there is any aberration, it is in the implementation of the party list system by the COMELEC and the ambivalent as well as differing decisions of the Supreme Court. Would you agree to that, Mr. Honorable gentleman from the party list system, party list Adak Akbayan?
Yes, I fully agree with your comment, Honorable Lagman.
The distinguished gentleman from Akbayan referred to a number of Supreme Court decisions. Actually, this started from Veterans Federation Party, a decision rendered in 2000, followed by the Ang Bagong Bayani ruling in 2001, and the Banat ruling in 2009, and now the Paglaom, Atong Paglaom ruling in 2013. And all of these decisions would not be consistent with each other. Would you agree to that, Your Honor?
Yes, I would agree with that, Mr. Speaker. In fact, these conflicting positions and decisions of the Supreme Court have also rendered many conflicts within the party list groups vying in the elections.
Now, let me go to the latest decision, the Atong Paglaom case. Here, the Supreme Court said that there are two groups entitled to representation in the party list system. One is the marginalized and underrepresented sectors, and two, what the Supreme Court called through its ponente the groups lacking in well-defined political constituencies. Would you agree, Your Honor, that the second group, known as the lacking in well-defined political constituencies, is not actually a separate group? Because this phraseology, lacking well-defined political constituencies, refer to the marginalized and underrepresented sectors.
Yes, I would agree, Mr. Speaker, and in fact, I would like to quote a pertinent provision or a pertinent paragraph of that decision, wherein it states that sectoral parties or organizations may either be marginalized and underrepresented or lacking in well-defined political constituencies, thus referring to the sectoral parties or organizations that participate in the party list elections.
And in other words, there is only one group entitled to party list representation, and these are the marginalized and underrepresented sectors which do not have well-defined political constituencies.
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
Well, thank you, distinguished gentleman from party list Akbayan. And I think that instead of abolishing the party list system, we should really introduce perfecting amendments to the existing law and review the decisions of the Supreme Court, which are ambivalent and conflicting. Would you agree to that proposition?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I fully agree and would support that proposition.
Thank you so much for this opportunity to interpolate the distinguished gentleman.
Distinguished Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we refer the privileged speech of the Honorable
Before I recognize the gentleman from Camarines Sur, I will first
Mr.
give
Speaker, I move that we refer the privilege.
Majority Leader the opportunity to make the proper motion.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we refer the privileged speech of the Honorable Tom Villarin and the interpellation to the Committee on Rules. So moved, Mr. Speaker.
Is there any objection? The chair hearing none. The speech of the gentleman from the party list Akbayan is referred to the Committee on Rules.
Mr. Speaker,
Distinguished Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we terminate the privilege hour.
Is there any objection? There being none, the privilege hour is terminated.
Mr. Speaker,
Distinguished Majority Leader.
I move for the election of the following members to their respective committees. To the Commission on Appointments, as additional member, Antonio R. Floirendo. To Agriculture and Food, Jose T. Panganiban Jr. as member number 1. Basic Education and Culture, Evelina G. Escudero as member number 1. Economic Affairs, Arthur C. Yap as member number 1. Foreign Affairs, Linabel Ruth R. Villarica as member number 1. Government Enterprises and Privatization, Jesus N. Sakdalan as member number 1. Committee on Health, Angelina D. L. Tan as member number 1. Local Government, Pedro B. Acheron Jr. as member number 1. Revision of Laws, Marlene Primicias Agabas as member number 1. Rural Development, Deogracias B. Ramos Jr. as member number 1. Welfare of Children, Eleanor C. Bulot Begtang as member number 1. Bases Conversion, Emmy G. Calixto Rubiano as member number 1. Peace, Reconciliation, and Unity, Ruby Sahali as member number 1. Reforestation, Noel L. Villanueva as member number 1. And Southern Tagalog Development, Isidro S. Rodriguez Jr. as member number 1.
Is there any objection? The chair hearing none. The motion is approved.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we adjourn our session. I'm sorry, Mr. Speaker. I move that we approve the journal number 4 dated August 1, 2016.
Is there any objection? The chair hearing none. The motion is approved.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we adjourn until Wednesday. I withdraw, Mr. Speaker. I have one more manifestation, Mr. Speaker. In the interest of the people of the Lone District of Las Piñas, in view of the appointment of its representative Mark Villar as Secretary of the Department of Public Works and Highways, I move that we designate Representative Emeline Aglipay Villar of Party List Diwa as caretaker of the Lone District of Las Piñas.
Is there any objection? The chair hearing none. The motion is approved.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we adjourn until tomorrow, Wednesday, July 3 at 4 o'clock, August 3 until 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Is there any objection? The chair hearing none. The session is adjourned and to resume tomorrow, August 3 at 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Jeff, pingin naman ako ng election.